Welcome everyone. I think we'll get started at this ordinary council meeting, 28th of February 2023. My name is Karen Redman. I'm the Mayor of the town of Gawler. I'll be the chair of this meeting this evening. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the land that we meet on tonight is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. So we have one apology this evening, Deputy Mayor Nathan Shanks. He will be beaming in at some point in the evening as an observer. So that is everyone. Are there any motions to grant leave of absence, councillors? Councillor Davies.
So for Councillor Shanks, 28th of February to the 3rd of March inclusive.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes, all those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. Any other motions to grant leave of absence, councillors? There be none. We'll move on. There is no non-attendance. Now we move on to non-attendance, public open forum and then deputations. So firstly, I'd like to just state that this meeting is, there is an expectation of respectful behaviours. So anyone who comes to speak to council, there is an expectation that you engage in respectful behaviours. So that means not being disruptive, abusive. I'll be the judge of whether your behaviour is disrespectful or not. I don't think that's going to be a problem with the people that are in this room. I think that everyone knows what respectful behaviours is, and but however, if there are any incidences of disrespectful behaviour, I may stop you. So I take this. We teach our children to be respectful, and we teach our children to be undertake respectful behaviours. So I don't think it's disrespectful to ask the same of our community. So I'll leave it at that. So we're going to go straight into public open forum, and we have 8 people. So I think, Chris, you did tell people that it would be a reduced amount. So I'm going to go firstly in order that I've received these. And so I'm going to call out, we have Paul Barnett, we have Michael Harnett, we have Beverly Gidman, we have Julian Midwinter, we have Tony Fay, we have Chris Maudsley, we have Shane Bailey, and we have Ian Tooley in that order. So I'll call you out. If you can all move up, and so you're close to the whoever I've called out. Are you all sitting at the front? No? If anyone's sitting right at the back, can you come to the front, please? And bring your seat with you so that you're not walking right from the back. If that can be at all possible, please. I'm sure there's spare seats. Thank you, Julian. Thank you. Just come up so that you're just close to the mic. When you speak in the mic, I'll turn it on, and then if you can leave it on for the next speaker, so that it makes it a little bit smoother. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for that. So firstly, Paul Barnett, if you'd like to come to the podium, and so we'll be timing. I'll give you a 30-second warning. It's quite quick. So if you'd like to turn that on, Paul, and it's just a button in front of you. There you go. It's working, yes.
Time starts now.
Absolutely. You've got the floor, Mr. Barnett.
My interest in 550 to 554 Maynorth Road is purely personal. I love Gawler and have been more involved with it most of my life. As a child, I played in the ruins of James Martin Foundry. In my father's time, he sought small ball bearings there to play marbles with. And my grandfather swept floors for Jane Martin as a child for needed pocket money. James Martin was best man at my great-grandfather's wedding. So no child slave labour there, just helping a young friend. I am a long-termer here and have seen a lot of changes in our district. Not all successful, but that's progress. But Gawler has always been the regional centre, the colonial Athens, to quote others, and historically a centre of development for South Australia. And Gawler of today is as in the past, must retain as much of this development potential as it can. Of course, taking into account that those who live around these areas in these employment zones, but that's good business to look after the locals and create buffer zones. Imagine Gawler without the Iconic racecourse. The entrance would be just horrific. No historic Gawler Civic Centre. These are the soul of Gawler. These are parts of large areas that we're losing, and we're losing valuable Gawler Central commercial land year by year. And it lessens Gawler's relevance. And we reduce the employment possibilities now and for further down the track. We have enormous tracts of land now opening up all around Gawler district for housing development, and this is good, as more people want to enjoy the great life that we have here. But the heart of Gawler does not need to be another dormitory. And we have the opportunity now to future-proof this particular block of land to be able to employ more people in the local jobs in the future. Large employers need large space to develop, and it always has been for as long as the lifeline of this town. Employers, for example, Verdulis Garden Centre, Steinborner Motors, Winterlinks, in its heyday, James Martin Foundry.
30 seconds, thanks, Paul.
My point is, don't lose inner Gawler employment zones to general neighbourhoods, especially along the main North Road. Housing developers have plenty of other land around, and we can't afford to lose any more commercial blocks in Gawler town. And I know this for a fact. I know our forefathers would not like to see this happen. So I say amend the code. Instead of a general neighbourhood, as it has been now, we need to keep it an employment zone and future-proof the commercial employment opportunities, as there are not many of them left along the main North Road. And some businesses can only survive along busy thoroughfares. I mean, imagine McDonald's down Paxton Street. It won't happen. I know it's worth a lot of money as a housing development, but it's worth more to Gawler as a place of employment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Next person is Michael Harnett. Thank you. So, Michael, I will give you a 30-second warning, just so it doesn't scare you too much.
Thank you. Yeah, well, mine's quite the opposite. I object to the code amendment seeking to rezone 550 to 554 Main North Road, as it will alter an existing close-knit community. It will have trading impacts on nearby residents and other employment zones which already support neighbourhood scale shopping and business facilities to provide for the community. It will increase traffic congestion, and it doesn't capitalise on the nearby educational institutions and connections to public transport options. A facility is not going to have people catching the bus as much as residents would to go to work, in terms of going to Adelaide or getting to school with the nearby educational institutes. I would also like people to go home tonight and think of white elephants. Gawler Park, for example. A large number of Gawler Park's shop fronts are empty, which poses the question, has an analysis of current business activity within the catchment of the affected area been undertaken? The lack of demand for additional land zoned employment for bulky goods outlets does not underpin the proposed code amendment, and therefore it should not be supported. The right balance between achieving, the right balance needs to be achieved which promotes fair competition without undermining existing investment decisions like Gawler Park. White elephants and standard bulky goods outlets take away Gawler's sense of distinction from its surrounding areas, making us look more and more like Smithfield, Manapara and the wider city of Playford, something the town of Gawler's very own planning policies seek to avoid.
Thank you, Michael. Beverly Gidman, you're up next. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, CEO and elected members. I wish to talk about the Gawler rural areas. And I just read here that you want to endorse the land capability assessment for the rural zone, the ARIS report. There are some items on that that are not correct. They're saying that there's 164 people employed in the rural area. I constantly go around visiting the people in the rural area, and I've done it again this weekend. There's 70 people have got businesses in the rural area, and they have got employment of 70 people, and some of them are seasonal workers, which are an extra 48 on top of that, but they are only done 2 or 3 weeks of the year, making a total of 118. When I've visited the neighbours and the people in Hillier, etc., their comments have been wide and varied about the fact that the IES report is not correct. On the 14th of February, there was page 124, and there's a picture of roses that Knight's property have, and people believe that is the Evanston property. It's not. That photo was taken at Two Wells. Knights own 100 acres there and also another 40 acres, and they also lease land. A lot of the rural land is being used for roses, which are being brought into the Evanston Knights Roses area. The staff at the property at Evanston.
30 seconds, thank you, Bev.
Another rose grower buys his stock from outside the rural area and sells it on. In addition to a number of employment in the rural areas, council's been doing a lot of maintenance, such as slashing, spraying weeds, lopping of trees. This added to the amount of 13.2 million as a turnover for the rural areas. That is not a true indication of the people employed in the rural area.
Thank you.
Because council workers are included in that figure of 13.2 million. And what is the council's decision of having 4 hectares not viable for income to support any family in the rural property? Most families have an extra member in their home working to support their expenses. Why call the area primary production? One family went to several banks recently to get a loan to extend their business, and the bank said no, because if it was deemed commercial, they would get a loan. But the big 4 banks
So your time's up, Bev.
would
Sorry.
not lend money. Just 2 more words.
Okay, no worries.
Would not lend money in the rural lifestyle for primary production on these small hectare blocks.
That's about
Also-
10 words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Also,
okay.
80 kilometres an hour
Thank you,
speed
Bev.
limit is against getting a loan as well.
Thank you very much, Bev. Julian Midwinter, if you'd like to come forward, thank you.
Thank you. This is a bit of a preamble actually to my deputation later.
So I'll give you a 30-second warning, Julian, okay?
Austroads developed a matrix to categorise roads based on physical characters, intended use and expected average daily traffic, and a matrix of key parameters of usage to guide councils in their management of traffic on those roads. Each of the tiers, lane, local collector, main and arterial, has a set of key usage indicators, and these parameters, which if exceeded, put the road users at risk as the road is exceeding its safe carrying capacity. This means there is a risk of accidents and injury and diminished community harmony as a result of the overuse. The sole purpose of this set of guides is to keep people safe and to provide a decent quality of life. Edith Street is a local road, but because it is being used as a cut through, it has become a pseudo collector for which it was not designed. Blanche Street is little more than a lane, and it too is being used as a cut through by hundreds more cars per day than it should be carrying. Local roads, according to the Austroad matrix, are considered to be experiencing traffic problems if greater than 1,500 vehicles per day, or greater than 20% peak hour usage, or the 85th percentile is greater than 40 kilometres per hour and is regularly being experienced. Edith Street is carrying 2,400 vehicles per day, and the peak usage is 40%, and the 85th percentile is 52 kilometres per hour. These are the weekly average figures though, and if you drill down into the data, a more extreme picture emerges. The peak usage of 40% equates to 1,000 vehicles using the road across 2 periods per day. That's the equivalent of a road carrying 6,000 vehicles per day. The 85th percentile for these periods is 60 kilometres per hour. The average speed is 55
seconds,
kilometres
thank
per
you.
hour. On Sunday, the average speed is actually 65 kilometres per hour. The maximum speed surveyed on Edith Street was 99.8 kilometres per hour, but we have witnessed cars racing side by side at much greater speeds than this, actually going airborne as they hit the level crossing. I recently witnessed a car drifting around the bend at the Short Street intersection. Totally ludicrous. Just a few weeks ago, a car mounted the curb on Edith Street and was travelling so fast that it burst its rear tyre. It was fortunate there was no oncoming traffic as the car veered out of control
Thank you,
onto the
Julie.
wrong side of the road before coming to a stop.
Thank you, Julian. Mr. Tony Fay.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors, for going to be able to speak, and I want to speak on regard to the rural investigation and to remind you of a contradiction and an anomaly regarding activity within the rural zone that's under investigation. Again, my name is Tony Fay. I own a property on Main North Road, Evanston South, in the area known as the Northern Trade Centre. I bought land there in the late 70s, establishing and operating an industrial commercial type business, having been guided by the planning regulations of the then Mononpara Council. Due to a boundary change in the late 80s, this area and most of Cuddler was taken over by the Gawler Council, and this section rezoned rural A, and then again in the 90s rezoned to just rural. This effectively pulled the rug out under the feet of myself and neighbouring property owners, restricting all further industrial development. These 2 hectare partially developed allotments are now left dormant, leaving only the burden of weed control. They are now too small and unsuitable for primary production, considering the industrial nature of the area as well. There are only about 10 2-hectare blocks in this area. We are asked to be grateful for those of us that had approved developments before 1988 through a verbal term given existing use rights, which has never had an official planning definition. Does it mean that we can change use from, say, a mechanic shop to a crash repair shop? No, it does not. It is now considered non-complying developments because it does not comply with the new rural zoning regulations. We were told by the new council it was a temporary measure until further industrial and residential areas were planned, and as nothing has changed since then, I think the real reason is found within the Gawler Strategic Plan of 1985, which I have documents here. And it's more likely that, as it says in here, one of the main goals was to establish an enlarged green belt to the metropolitan area, and of course that area being Elizabeth Monopara. I think this is the real reason. So rezoning to rural was restriction of further developments and thus,
30 seconds, thank you, Tony. 30
Uh,
seconds, 30 seconds, thank you.
okay, all right, well, basically, that's the reason why nothing's going ahead down that end of the world, and it really needs to be restored. So what I'll finish with then is most people would think the entrance of Gawler is off the bypass and that it's no longer a country town because of all the growth developments such as Audi, Bunnings and Coles complex and the changes to traffic conditions, the loss of open space view, the iconic racecourse and the future planned developments along the main North Road. And Gawler has a growing population. Progress cannot be halted. A green belt will not make Gawler a country town. So I'm again appealing to the council to take this opportunity to right the injustice imposed some 35 years ago on property owners within the Northern Trade Centre and restore the appropriate zoning suited to the area that is now called an employment zone referred to in the new Planning and Design Code, and to further reduce block sizes to at least 2,000 square metres, thus growing the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much. Chaz Maudsley, please.
Hello, I'm here to talk about the ongoing traffic issues in Edith Street, Short Street and Blanche Street, which the council is fully aware of. On the 8th of February, I saw a large four-wheel drive travelling from Lyndoch Road along Edith Street and turned left at the intersection of Edith and Short Street. The vehicle crossed onto the wrong side of the road and continued driving completely on the wrong side for some considerable time. It wasn't having to do this to avoid cars parked on the side of the road either. At the same time, I saw a resident reversing out of their driveway near the intersection. Normally, this resident, who's actually a P-plater and an inexperienced driver, might be checking for incoming traffic that they were about to merge into. They may not expect to be confronted with a vehicle driving down the wrong side of the road. This is only one example of what I see regularly on Edith Street, and that's not to mention the speeding, the hooning, and the failing to stop at the stop sign. Now, recently, pedestrian lights were installed on the corner of Murray Street and Lyndoch Road. That's great because this was a spot waiting for an accident to happen. It's just a pity that a fatality occurred before action was taken. It appears to me that council is not overly concerned about the level of traffic being diverted down our residential streets and that there is potential for this to have disastrous consequences. Please listen to the residents of their streets impacted and take some proactive rather than reactive action. Hopefully I won't be standing here in future pointing my finger and saying, I told you so. Thank you.
Shane Bailey. I'll give you a 30-second warning, Shane.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight about the Paxton Street landfill remediation options decision report and associated recommendations. I want to make it clear I am not talking to you tonight as a representative of the Gawler Veteran Vintage and Classic Vehicle Club. I'm here simply to remind councillors of the objective of the report, which was to give the car club confidence that a viable site is available at 13 Little Paxton Street after multiple unsuccessful investigations of unviable sites that proved to be nothing more than distractions. The topic report was produced in response to a resolution passed at the July 2022 Ordinary Council meeting, which I'll refer to as the Paxton Street Resolution. Multiple attendees at the meeting expressed frustration caused by alternative sites to Little Paxton Street being investigated by council, only for these to be declared unviable. If you were present at the meeting or have watched it online, you will understand the frustration. The Paxton Street Resolution instructed council to confirm the soil bearing capacity of 13 Little Paxton Street, Williston. You will read that the report does confirm the site is a viable option for the car club. Options 1, 2 and 3 are all viable. Option 4, the SES site in Williston, is preferenced by the author of the report simply because of the complexities of the Little Paxton Street site. That's it, nothing else. Despite these complexities, options 1, 2 and 3 are all viable. The attachment to tonight's agenda includes detailed analysis of 13 Little Paxton Street. It includes a site plan with parking for 160 cars. It's through this analysis that the complexities were identified. These complexities do not detract from the fact that the site has been deemed viable. There is no analysis of the SES site, so we don't yet know what the complexities are. On page 40 of the agenda, you'll note the author of the report recommends the CEO establish if the SES site in Williston is viable. It has not yet been determined if option 4 is viable. At the July 2022 meeting, Mayor Redmond summarised the feeling of the night with the quote, "Getting that work done so you understand what the foundation looks like. If it's a thicker foundation which will provide stability, we've got a win. The report details how to get stability. We have a win. Take the win, focus on options 1, 2 and 3. Treat any motion related to the SES Williston site as separate to the Paxton Street resolution. Give the CEO the authority to discuss the viability of the SES site at Williston, but not at the expense of a site that has been declared viable. A site that with a
30
plan in
seconds.
place,
Thank you.
thank you. A site that with a plan in place gives the club the stability that was the original intent of the July 2022 motion, moved by Councillor Shanks and seconded by Councillor Hughes. Preferencing one site over the other can be determined once both have been declared viable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ian Tooley, if you'd like to come up, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm speaking about RVs in Gawler. Brian Samble and Brian Tom saw the benefit of RV friendly and tried to introduce that in the period 210 to 214. They were visionary. I gave a couple of goes myself in 214 to 218. Our push for RV friendly was based on tested and true benefits to tourism and to the local economy, but our efforts were defeated by the promotion of a false narrative and the spreading of misinformation by members who were ideologically opposed. Members who were happy to kill off RV friendly, but who offered no alternative to boost tourism or the local economy. The last motion on the books for RV in Gawler was in July 2018. And that motion was passed after an amendment. And the amendment, the members wanted to take out these two clauses. They did not want to authorise the CEO to sign up to community welcomes RVs, and they did not want the brown RV welcome signs put around Gawler. So they specifically took those two items out. It's in the minutes, and then they moved the motion. Since then, the CEO did allow for Gawler to join RV welcome, and he did allow for the RV welcome signs to be placed around Gawler against the wishes of the members. Despite those signs being put up around Gawler, not one thing has happened in order to increase RV parking in Gawler. There has been no increase despite the thousands of dollars spent on those signs. The difference between RV welcome and RV friendly. RV welcome is owned by the SA Parks, and they say for RV welcome that you must park your self-contained RV in a caravan park. The owners of RVs that are self-contained hate caravan parks and will not park in them. There's about 600,000 of them on the road at any one time. There are 99 RV-friendly destinations in South Australia and 494 nationally, that's RV-friendly. There are 147 public dump points in South Australia. There are only 18 RV welcome sites in South Australia. Gawler Council says that it wants to boost tourism and it says that it wants to boost the local economy. It has the words, but it doesn't have the actions. RV friendly is a cherry to be picked. It's on the shelf right now. We've already scoped the positions. We've already done the homework and we know the value. The grey nomads will come. They will spend on average on 218 figures, $160 per head per person.
30 seconds,
Thank you, Mayor. This fringe has probably been the best fringe calendar that Gawler has put on. But sadly, the attendance at many of the events has been down. Imagine if you'd promoted this and you had RV friendly operating. The number of grey nomads that would come to boost that, the boost tourism, the boost the economy. It's an absolute no-brainer. and Gawler could and should do it. It's there to be picked off the shelf. And the RV friendly people will give you the $2,000 free dump point cover. That's all you've got to do. So I commend the motion that's before you tonight. And I hope that they use the information that's already on the shelves, the homework that we've already done, those that have gone before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes public open forum. We now move to deputations. There is 5 minutes per deputation and I'll give a 30-second warning. So in order, before I'll just name the people that have applied to be a deputation: Mr. Tony Piccolo, MP, Mr. Justin Simmons, Ms. Laura Addy, Mr. John Hockley. Is John here? Oh, there you are, right. Mr. Adam Roberts, Ms. Belinda Monier, Mr. Ian Tooley, Mr. Ray Heron, and Mr. Julian Midwinter in that order. So Mr. Tony Piccolo, MP, if you'd like to come forward, thank you. You just turn it on, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, members, for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I have two matters. First of all, I'd just like to speak to, in some way, to item 10.6, which is on the agenda tonight. And at the outset, I would indicate that we actually would support that recommendation, which is in your agenda paper. And I'll explain why. Over the last few months, I've been facilitating some discussions between the Apex Club, the Black Ops Veterans Garage, and the Gawler Car Club. At those meetings has been represented the SCS, the club members, and also the town of Gawler. And I can advise council that an in-principle agreement has been reached by those three clubs to co-locate on the SS site at Williston. And I can also advise the council that the SCS is prepared to offer a 40-year lease to the three parties based on a peppercorn rent. And it's intended that an overall management committee would be established to manage a site on behalf of three clubs. The three clubs are now in the process of preparing a development application for approval by the relevant planning authority. And the only request I have, if council would like to make a contribution to the project, it could help fund the development application process, and that be supporting all three clubs and be money well spent. At this stage, for those three clubs, Paxton Street is not on the agenda. This week, I've been approached by the representatives of the car club who are quite supportive of the SCS site. I would like that to see that site progressed. And importantly, all those two clubs will actually still maintain a link with Willow's Men's Shed, which is located in Paxton Street. On the second matter I'd like to raise with you tonight is the meeting I held with a whole range of community members regarding the possibility of holding a Christmas parade through somewhere in the commercial centre of Gawler. There was strong interest at the meeting from a whole range of individuals and community organisations. What I'm seeking tonight from the council is perhaps a council contact, an officer which the group could work with to explore and develop the proposal further. There'll be discussions held with SAPOL, be consultation held with local council, local businesses to make sure we have a proposal which actually is supported by the whole community. And also there'll be, if the proposal does go ahead, would be seeking a council contribution, but it would be limited to the following: hopefully granting approval for the parade to go ahead, and secondly, perhaps meeting the cost of the road closures involved, and depending on what road closures are involved. All other costs associated with the event would be actually met by the event itself, and they're seeking to get sponsors. So this event will be a community-led event, but needs to do it in partnership with Gawler because the council controls the roads, but they're happy to work with council to provide a low-cost, very effective, family-friendly event for Christmas.
Thank you, Tony. So next is Mr. Justin Simmons. If you'd like to come forward, Justin, thank you. So you have 5 minutes, Justin, and I'll give you a 30-second warning. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. I wish to begin by congratulating you all on your recent election and express gratitude that members of this community have an open forum where they can come and speak to you about our issues and concerns. As you are aware, the code amendment for 550 to 554 Main North Road is currently in consultation. And I want to use this opportunity to express my strong opposition to this proposal.
I will preface this by saying that I'm fully aware that the consultation process requires members of the public to lodge their feedback through the formal process, and our family will most certainly be doing so. My purpose in speaking to you tonight is to express our position on this issue and urge that where the council can contribute to this process, that the views of the community are known and considered. My wife and I own a property on that backs onto Common Parade, and it backs directly onto the site that is being proposed for the code amendment. We purchased this in 2017, and at the forefront of our decision making was the quiet nature of the area, the available green space, and the expectation that when the land over our back fence was to be developed, it would be done so as a low density residential in accordance with the general neighbourhood zone which applied there. We made an offer on our house that was more than we intended simply because of the quiet nature of the location of our residence. Whilst this 5-minute presentation will not afford me the opportunity to voice the multitude of concerns that I have with this proposal, noise is without doubt the single most significant factor for us. My wife, unfortunately, suffers from fibromyalgia. It's an invisible and chronic illness that leads to her feeling constant pain and a deep sense of fatigue. It is well established in medical literature that sufferers of fibromyalgia are hypersensitive to sensory inputs and are easily overwhelmed to the point of dysfunction when they experience an overload. The most significant factor for her is a hypersensitivity to noise. Given the geography, it is our assumption that the likely orientation of the site will see our home located directly behind bulky goods outlets, which makes a loading zone directly over our back fence highly likely. We are therefore deeply concerned about whether the noise mitigation is going to be sufficient. Individuals with fibromyalgia require better noise protection from development than the average person does. They need to be able to control the amount of noise in their environment to prevent exacerbation of their symptoms and maintain a good quality of life. This proposal is a genuine threat to our lifestyle, and we are gravely concerned about this issue above all others. Whilst the proposed 4.5 metre wall to mitigate the noise is unenviable, we are further concerned by what are flawed traffic management plans and the increased traffic noise that's going to come about because of this proposal. Underpinning the proposed traffic modelling is a lack of understanding of the local context and how the impact of this development will affect residents in Gawler South. It's my belief that the additional signalisation and the proposed realignment of the intersection of First Street and Sheriff Street is going to see an elevation in rat running down Coleman Parade for southbound access to Potts Road and northbound access to Gawler South. It's my opinion that this will further amplify the sound issue in a way that is not being mitigated by acoustic barriers. Beyond the noise issue rests an array of significant concerns which we will report through the formal process, but can share that we are concerned about overshadowing of our property through winter, the visual disruption from our property, a decline in property value, the safety risks associated with increased traffic along Coleman Parade, and some misleading claims about the demand for commercial development given the vast number of vacant commercial tenancies throughout the whole town. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Next is Laura Addy. Laura, if you'd like to come forward, thank you.
Good evening. I'm here representing my grandmother, who is a resident that will be directly impacted by the proposed code amendment and subsequent planned development of the Vidoulas Garden Centre site. I would like to open by stating that this council's decision relating to the commercial development of the proposed site, being the first time that a private proponent has directly submitted to council, will have an enormous effect on the future of Gawler and likely influence ensuing proposals and future rulings. Being the oldest country town in South Australia means that Gawler is known for its history and aesthetic beauty, filled with old buildings and making it the envy of many other towns. The Gawler Racecourse currently features many well-established gum trees, giving visitors a pleasant, leafy entrance to the old main street. This proposed development will see the removal of the vast majority of these old trees, as well as the construction of a concrete wall between 2.5 and 4.5 metres tall, which will forever negatively alter the approach into Gawler, again, known for its historical character and heritage buildings. The planned wall will not only be an eyesore, but will also act as a colossal heat island. Concrete can easily reach temperatures exceeding 65 degrees Celsius in our weather, and its high thermal mass means that it will continue to radiate heat well into the night. Introducing this amount of concrete and removing the large trees nearby will have an adverse impact on the local environment. The Gawler Council website notes that the urban heat island effect is a significant concern moving forward as we face warming temperatures. This effect is also specifically mentioned by the National Strategy for Disaster Resilience as being increasingly responsible for ill health due to heat. Gawler Council states that it is committed to maintaining the amount of green space in an effort to combat rising urban temperatures. Both of these are at odds with the proposed development. The state government has set a target of 30% tree cover by 2045 as a measure to help combat the aforementioned urban heat island effect. Gawler currently sits at 15% tree cover. How is the council proposing to achieve the target if it approves the removal of well-established native trees? If the commercial development goes ahead, there is a plan to put another set of traffic lights on Main North Road, less than 40 seconds drive from two other sets of traffic lights. It is unbelievable to imagine that this will not have a negative impact on traffic and travel times for local residents and indeed anyone travelling through. The proposal to have a combined entrance and exit at the new traffic lights seems illogical and will contribute to the frustrations of both visitors to the site and Gawler residents. Many people have noted that there are multiple other sites equally, if not more, suitable for this proposed development. The Gawler East development area has been mentioned as having some of these sites. It is also located near the Gawler East Link Road, which was created to divert traffic away from the main streets of Gawler. This project cost $68 million, and if this submission is successful, what was the point of creating a road to lessen the traffic when the proposed development will draw more traffic to the area? The Homemaker Centre, also known as the Gawler Park Village, negatively impacted the surrounding property prices when it was built. The prices dropped by a significant figure, around $70,000 per house. Does the council have any measures or considerations for the effect that this proposed development at Vidoulis will have on the residents and their residential housing values? How will the council account for the decrease in value and the decreased ability for residents to sell if they wish to move away from an area that they did not buy into? In closing, I have spoken with numerous residents of Gawler about this proposed development, and not a single one has wanted it to proceed. So if the council votes yes to allow a commercial development at the Vidoulis site, who are you representing? Thank you.
Mr. John Hockley, thank you. So I'll give you a 30-second. You've got 5 minutes, John.
No worries. Good evening, Mayor, councillors and gallery members. My name is John Hockley and I live at Ames Drive, Evanston Park. And tonight I will outline my objections to the code amendment, the rezoning of 550 to 554 Main North Road, Evanston. Firstly, the noise. Following a meeting with the proponents, Emmett and Fitzsimmons, it is going to be bulky goods stores that could be 1 to 5 businesses that will operate 7 days a week. The hours of operation yet to be confirmed, but was suggested that the hours will be between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. So there'll be trucks delivering, forklifts unloading, stacking and reversing with the constant beeping and the noise of waste bins being collected and emptied. Secondly, the traffic. Main North Road South is the most used entrance to and from Gawler. The current approximation of 9,800 vehicles per day. Gawler already has a problem with traffic congestion, and given that entry and exit to this business will be on Main North Road, this will not only affect local residents, but all traffic travelling north to south and south to north. For example, going to work, taking the kids to school, shopping, and traffic on race days. And let's not forget the sets of traffic lights already in situ. Then increase the congestion with multiple Sebi trailers navigating 3 sets of traffic lights on each trip. Thirdly, this is the south entrance to Gawler. I refer to Gawler's beautification plan set to give Gawler its identity. It states that the south entrance to Gawler is already the west entrance. So surely by allowing a building possibly 13 metres higher that will cover almost half of the 10 acres will not enhance or beautify this entrance. I also refer to Gawler's community plan 2.2.2. Ensure new development reinforces local character. Surely a structure of this nature is not what we want in Gawler's character to be, which would resemble the super cheap and adjoining structures in Elizabeth. Fourth, the stormwater. I refer to the Gawler stormwater plan. I personally believe the council is supporting the application rezoning, as the proponents will fund the upgrade to this previously identified problem with stormwater by the racecourse and the flood control basement, which will save the council tens of thousands of dollars they currently do not have to rectify the problem that was identified as a higher priority in the stormwater plan. Fifth, employment. I refer to the Gawler community plan. Given the application for rezoning refers to approximately 175 jobs, which is a formula used to determine workers in a bulk store. The community plan states that a significant percentage of Gawler residents already work outside of the council area, and that many people working in Gawler live outside of the council area. So the 175 positions do not guarantee a single local employment. Sixth, leadership. I refer to the Gawler community plan, where it clearly states the role of council is to advocate on behalf of the residents. Seventh, funding. It is worth noting that proponents are paying Future Urban to develop the LMA, the Land Management Agreement, in consultation with the council. This sets out the rules relating to the development, management, preservation and conservation of the land. This agreement is binding between the owner of the land and the council. I believe the LMA will in turn, will favour the developer. Along with the traffic controls, the proponents will pay for the traffic lights, roundabouts, signage and upgrade to the stormwater necessary to support the runoff from the building. In closing, SA Planning emailed me to say that under the community engagement charter, the council can write a submission and that they could have discussions with stakeholders. But sadly, to this date, they have chosen not to do this. I believe councillors elected by us, the residents of Gawler, should step up and advocate on our behalf and forward a submission objecting to the rezoning. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Adam Roberts.
Mayor, councillors, thank you for taking the time to listen to my concerns in regards to the rezoning of the builder's site from general residential employment. My name is Adam Roberts and I reside in Evanston Park. Of particular concern to me, and I'm sure any residents surrounding the area in question, are the results of some of the reports commissioned by Future Urban. These reports are available on the Plan SA website as appendices to the code amendment proposal. I'd like to talk about the acoustic assessment report performed by Sonus in September of 2022. This report is labelled as Appendix 8, Investigations Environment Noise Assessment. Page 7 of the report lists the considerations of the level of activity based over a 15-minute period used to predict noise level outputs to make their recommendations. One of these conditions is 100 light passenger vehicle movements through the car parking area. This equates to 400 vehicles an hour. The transport report, labelled Appendix 9, Investigations Transport, which was conducted using real-life data through the manual turning count on 3rd of March and SCATS data from 3rd to the 9th of May 2022, predicted the rezoning would generate over 485 movements in the daily afternoon peak hour and over 965 movements during the Saturday peak hour, as detailed in paragraph 4.2 on page 5. These real-life results are almost 100 more during the afternoon peak hour and almost 600 more during the Saturday peak hour than what the acoustic report considered when making their recommendations. The acoustic report also made the assumption, and I quote, "A comparable employment zone already exists in the vicinity of the affected area, approximately 600 metres to the south. Based on the above, the policy external goal noise levels that apply in general neighbourhood external goal noise levels that apply zone will satisfy the noise level recommendations of the World Health Organization guidelines and achieve a comparable level of amenity to existing residents within the general neighbourhood zone in the vicinity of the nearby existing employment zone. What the acoustic report fails to mention is that the comparable employment zone is much smaller than the area in question. Buildings are far greater than 9 metres from residence boundaries, and vehicles, including trucks, don't drive within 1.5 metres of residence boundaries as per this proposal. Given that the acoustic report has underestimated the level of vehicle movements by almost 600 an hour in some cases, and that this area is no way comparable to the other employment zone, this report cannot say with any level of confidence that these recommendations will ensure rezoning will comply with the noise level guidelines set out by the World Health Organization. In fact, I believe this acoustic report is worthless. You as our council should be doing everything in your power, including lodging submissions, to ensure that no resident within your area of responsibility will be exposed to noise levels beyond these safe recommended levels. Should this rezoning go ahead, it is highly likely noise levels will not comply with the World Health Organization recommendations. Employment zone is a wrong zone for this area. The area is already correctly zoned as general neighbourhood. I also have some concerns with the previously mentioned traffic report. Page 3 of the traffic report states that the Department of Infrastructure and Transport had a strong preference for signals to be located at Sheriff Street rather than as shown. This would provide better signal spacing and improve connectivity to the local network. It will relieve pressure at the Main North Road Ames Drive intersection and also enable the Main North Road Sheriff Street First Street intersections to be redesigned to address an existing design issues. It is understood that council had reservations about signals at Sheriff Street. However, from a network operation perspective, this is a better location and has broader community benefit. The Department for Infrastructure and Traffic has accurately predicted the inevitable traffic chaos that this rezoning will create. Many people will rat run through back streets. Many people will use Ames Drive to bypass the lights and traffic. People will simply stop visiting Gawler, as many have already stated on various social media platforms. I'd now like to read one of the roles of the council listed on your Gawler Council website. Encourage and develop initiatives for improving quality of life for its residents. There are a lot of people that have come here tonight to tell you that this rezoning will not improve the quality of life for them, but will in fact greatly negatively impact their quality of life. Given the demographic of residents, I have no doubt that should this rezoning go ahead, people's
30
health,
seconds. Thank you.
well-being and quality of life will suffer. This rezoning cannot go ahead. General neighbourhood is the correct zoning. If you do nothing to stop this rezoning, then I believe that you'll become known as the council that sat by and did nothing, even when it was clear that the rezoning would be to the detriment of Gawler and the health and well-being of its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Belinda Monier.
Your Worship, councillors and staff, thank you for the opportunity to address council tonight. On behalf of the proponents, I'm here to provide an update on the Evanston Park Code Amendment. I work for Future Urban, the planning consultancy assisting the proponents undertake the code amendment process. Since consultation began at the end of January, I have met with a large number of the residents, including meeting at the park or in the home individually or in small groups. Whichever method they preferred, I've accommodated and I've made myself available to them to talk through concerns and, provide further detail as requested. These discussions are continuing. The proponents themselves have also met with residents and stakeholders directly, and they continue to do so. The code amendment process is quite complex and rigorous. It's also quite new. We provided residents a brochure which sought to summarise the process, what was proposed, and provide relevant information to inform a submission. Now, the engagement period will close on the 12th of March, and only then will the proponents, be able to review the submissions and the feedback and provide a response to those issues raised. I will send a summary of what was heard and what changes are being considered by the proponents to all respondents and include an evaluation survey of the consultation process. The evaluation is a requirement of the Community Engagement Charter, and it's a further opportunity for the stakeholders to have their say about the process. It's very likely that changes will be made to both the code amendment and the draft land management agreement in response to the feedback that we've heard. And this will all be addressed in the engagement report. The council will be provided the engagement report and the draft LMA in April. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Ian Tooley, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a long interest in the rural zone, and so I'm speaking on that tonight. In relatively recent years, Barossa Council has worked to support a master plan development for Concordia. Imagine what might have happened to our rural zone if Town of Gawler had chosen to listen and to strategically act rather than to block, bury, ignore and obfuscate in relation to the rural zone within its existing boundary. After all, Gawler Council was gifted the rural zone in the government's boundary reforms in the late 1980s. Rural zone residents have been calling for justice for decades, and the shelves of the Town of Gawler are stacked with hundreds and hundreds of submissions and report after report. Gawler Council has a long history of ignoring those submissions and of the pleas of the rural zone community and of going slow in the rural zone. The ARIS and RDA reports are just more costly exercises that the Town of Gawler administration and their supporters on council will use to try and argue that the rural zone should be preserved for agriculture and horticulture as a green belt. And they will use it to try and push back against the calls for development. But what do the ARIS and the RDA reports really tell us? Well, the ARIS report tells us that there is no water available and it's very costly and unlikely that we'll get any. It tells us that 90% of the lots are less than 5 acres and not viable, and that agriculture and horticulture is not really economical or viable. What does the RDA report tell us? Nothing that we didn't already know. It claims 13.6 million economic activity and 160 full-time employment. Really? Turns out the author didn't understand the 13.6 million, doesn't know what it stands for. Turns out that figure is rubbery. And also turns out that the 160 employees is actually a work of fiction. Some questions in relation to the officer's recommendation that you were provided with in your recent IES. First of all, why did the officer's attachment called, and I have it here, chronological list of community and ministerial engagement for the Gawler zone? You were given this to give you a list chronologically of what happened since 2006, and yet it omitted every single community consultation that we've had. And there have been many. How misleading. Why were the members not told nor provided with the hundreds of submissions and petitions provided by the community in response to the multiple rural zone community consultations over the decades? Why have members not been informed of the resolution regarding the statement of intent, nor were you given a copy of this beautiful 18-page document called the Statement of Intent? It's ready to go. It's been to the minister and it was put on hold while the amendment was done to the code. It is ready to go. Why have members not been provided with access or given copies of the Jensen 1 and Jensen 2 reports, the most critical and expensive reports done on the rural zone? Why have members not been made aware of the massive IES Council resolution of 219 regarding the Rural Areas Development Plan Amendment update as of August 2019? It wasn't even tracked in your agenda on Officer's report. Regarding the IES resolution from the 14th of February 2023, point 4, why would you have staff undertake another investigation into infrastructure and investment in the rural zone when you already have spent tens of thousands of dollars on doing just that, and you have the shelves stacked with the answers? In point 5 and 6, why commission another discussion paper on the zones and the subzones in the rural zone, and yet another consultation and community engagement plan, when you not only have the expensive Jensen 2 report, which does just that on zones and subzones, but Town of Gawler has the results of the extensive consultation that you conducted in May 2019, and that has not been made available to the members. Town of Gawler has been stalling on the rural zone for decades in the vain hope that a mythical belief that a green buffer zone will be created to hold off the hordes from the south, and that the investment in high value intensive agriculture will somehow transform the zone.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of these stalling tactics, every newly elected council gets an officer's report like you got in the IES. And while I highly commend Councillor Solomons for weathering the storm of the opposition that he received from the old guard regarding his amendment, I wonder if Councillor Solomon's amendment or amended motion might have been very different if he had been made aware of the full history of what's gone before and made fully aware of the information, consultations, reports that are sitting on the shelves.
Your time's up. Thank you.
Gawler had
Mr.
the opportunity
Mr.
to
Cook.
transform the rural zone. And sadly, Mayor, I believe that has been missed.
Thank you. So next is Mr. Ray Heron. Thank you, Ray.
The issue that I have is a tree. It's on my property, and if you've read the agenda and the attachments relating to that, there's not much more that I can add, other than a few things that I've dug up in the meantime regarding this. And one of the issues is this tree was designated as a regulated and a significant tree, but was overridden by the land management agreement. And so therefore it's remained. This was done back in 2014. The arborist that made the report may have or may not have realised that the tree grows, and it's in the reports that you got, somewhere up to 100 feet high, and it's spread in those 9 years a lot bigger than perhaps he saw at this point in time. 30 metres high, 20 metres at a fast rate. One of the other issues that I picked up on was the damage that can be caused to adjoining properties. And it says here that tree owners, which is me, are held to be held by the courts are liable to pay compensation for a variety of problems caused by overhanging branches and twigs moving in the wind, brushing against the affected neighbour's place and keeping them awake, which is in fact the case. And the back neighbour has pointed this out to me. Leaves from branches overhanging, blocking the roofs, which it has done on my property, filled my gutters with the little berries that come off the eucalypt, and my water comes out, I won't say black, but very dirty. When I first moved into the house, which is just on 12 months ago, the toilet bowl itself was stained to the extent that I had to get some fairly harsh work done on it to bring it back, and you can't use it in the laundry at all because the water is tainted. There is a roof gutter guard on the roof, which every second flute on the roof is screwed down with a tech screw. To remove that and clean the gutters out would be a mammoth job, and is a mammoth job. I've been up there a couple of times to do that, but at my age, which I am 77, I don't feel confident walking around on a roof nowadays. Root damage, once again, is mentioned in the reports that the design of the adjacent properties and the property I'm on was in fact designed with consideration to the tree on the premises. Now, whether that is in fact the case or not, if I wanted to perhaps ask that question of the council members or the building inspectors, whether that design was in fact imposed and implemented, else the tree itself, as it says, it has a eucalyptus tree is known for having one of the most invasive root systems in the world. First of all, the roots produced by the eucalyptus tree are strong indeed. And on top of that, the roots spread far and wide, and all these factors play a crucial role in making the root system invasive. It goes on and talks about the damage to foundations, footings, pipes, trees that grow or other vegetation that grows in there is overtaken by the root system of the eucalypt tree. And this particular one is really characteristics of those things. So I have this tree which overhangs my adjacent fence and my adjacent neighbour's property. It drops leaves, it drops everything. I'm forever cleaning it up. And this last week, just recently, as you would recognise by the wind.
30 seconds, thank you,
Yes,
Ray.
the tree has, I fill up my green bin this week, and the next day I go out and I can fill another one up. And that is in fact the case. And just one in closing note, when I first took the house on, my daughter actually found it, and she works just down this passageway. I didn't realise that. Her name is Megan Carroll, and she works for Chile Recruitment. So some of you may know her. But when my situation came up that I had to move, it was a personal situation. And she said, "Oh, Dad, it'd be nice if you moved closer to us." She lives at Cockatoo Valley, "because you're getting older." I said, "Am I?" She, and the bottom line of that is my grandchildren have me out there quite often. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Julian Midwinter, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I intend to argue tonight that council failed to address the issues raised in the petition from the residents of Edith, Short and Blanche Streets regarding the traffic problem being experienced by the residents of those streets, and that the MFY not only failed to explore the wide range of options available to address those problems, but used flawed methodology in generating data on which recommendations were made to council. And that because of this, I request that the resolution is voted on at the November council meeting be revisited, or if that is not technically or legally possible, that a new review is conducted in good faith with genuine consultation with the residents to achieve an actual solution to the problems as raised in the original petition. When Gawler Council learned that local roads were experiencing traffic in excess of the recognised maximums, it responded by doubling the acceptable limit for traffic in Gawler, supposedly eliminating our problems. To counter this, a petition from residents of Edith, Short and Blanche Streets was presented to council in August of 2021, which specifically asked council to address the issues of traffic volume and speed in that order. Council commissioned traffic consultants MFY to conduct a study and report on any problems and possible solutions. That report verified the fact that the streets were experiencing unacceptable through traffic. The report recommendation, however, was that cushions be installed to slow but not reduce the volume of traffic, despite the volume of traffic being the key complaint. The cushion option was rejected as unacceptable by petitioning residents, which was made clear to council at that time. MFY then commissioned Austraffic to conduct a further traffic count survey on Edith and Blanche Streets. In conversation with Peter Dorp, the principal of Austraffic, I learned that MFY specifically specified the survey be conducted in the week that included the Queen's birthday long weekend when Gawler represented a ghost town, and to position the counter at the Salvos meeting hall exit where everyone leaving would cross at less than 10 kilometres per hour. When the timing and position of the survey counters was questioned by Mr. Dorp as being dubious, MFY insisted that it be done as they directed. A community forum Q&A was then held at council chambers. Jane Lovell from MFY attended and presented a complete about-face opinion to the original report, stating that there was now no problem. She then offered unsubstantiated facts to back this change of position, namely that the Eder Street traffic problem had been solved by tweaking of the timing of the main road traffic lights, resulting in a 25% reduction in traffic volume, not by the counting of traffic over a holiday long weekend. And that also, because the majority of vehicles originated from Williston, they were therefore legitimate and not actually rat runners. In an attempt to get answers from where MFY had obtained the evidence to support their new position, having not been given any opportunity at the Q&A meeting, I called their officers only to be told that Gawler Council management had directed MFY not to talk to me or answer any of my questions. I was obliged to direct all my questions in writing through Sam Delena, who then forwarded them to MFY, who then eventually divulged the basis of their position was of assumptions, not one fact on which to base these statements. I work in a science-based profession, and a great deal of my time is spent solving problems, making decisions based on the evidence before me. I have an honours degree in science, and I have read hundreds of scientific papers and am very conversant with the scientific process, and you cannot make statements without facts to back them up. The community consultation in June last year, allowing just one vote per household rather than one resident, one vote, was not conducted in good faith and gave non-stakeholders an unfair advantage to override petitioners. Plus, it only gave the option of agreeing to the cushions option or not. The outcome argued to be the majority community desire, as determined by this undemocratic process, was for cushions. Ultimately, and despite the fact that the residents of Edith Short and Blanche Streets initiated this whole process, petitioning for traffic volume reduction, road cushions, which were described by MFY as speed reduction measures, which would not affect volume flow, was the only option presented by council for the chamber to vote on. It was luckily defeated, ironically, with the help of councillors who were not prepared to spend more money on fixing our problem. This whole process was a monumental waste of $65,000 and was for council to fulfil their statutory obligations rather than address the chamber, address the resolution. I ask for it to be reviewed.
Thank you. So that concludes deputations. I'll allow one question per elected member because we do have a big agenda tonight. So I'd like to, any questions for anybody who spoke? Just one question. Thank you. Councillor White. Oh, can somebody turn that microphone off, please? Thank you very much. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Mayor Redmond. Firstly, just quickly, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to all members of the community that spoke tonight.
You've got a question. Get onto your question, please.
Okay. My question is for Belinda from Future Urban. I was just wondering if, thanks, Belinda. You mentioned when you were speaking to us that it looks like there's going to be changes to the proposal, and I understand that consultation is open till the 13th of March. Would you be able to give us, as well as residents in the room, a little bit of a picture of what that might look like, or at least what we can expect when that report comes back out?
Yes, or without speaking on behalf of the proponents, it's obviously their decision. But some of the changes we are looking at is a reduced building height, which would be part of the code as part of the technical and numeric variation. So we are looking at lowering that. There are some changes that we're looking into in terms of the landscaping, what it might look like, and ensuring that it wouldn't do any infrastructure damage, because we understand that there is a stormwater easement that runs along the back of the properties on Coleman Parade. Yeah, I guess off the top of my head, those are the two things. Obviously we need to wait until we hear from everyone and understand the feedback properly before we can adequately respond to everything.
Thank you. Councillor Davies, you had a question?
Yes, so just also for Linda. So at the stage after that, when you come back with the new recommendation, where does that go from there?
Yes, so some of those changes will be put into the feedback form that will be sent to the respondents. So everyone who puts in a submission, or if you request to be sent the evaluation survey, some of those changes will be put in there. And also in the engagement report, it'll be fully explained what we heard, how we've responded, and what changes we've made as a result.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Councillor Lorna.
Yeah, hi Belinda. You said you've actually met with quite a few residents out there. I'm curious, have any of them actually been positive towards this change for you?
Most of the people we meet with directly have, they do have issues and concerns about the code amendment. It's human nature that, when people are opposed to something, they are more likely to speak up than the favourable ones. But in saying that, we have had a number of favourable submissions, and I also have met with someone individually who did indicate a support for it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Belinda. I think we'll move on. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for coming along tonight and speaking. Thank you. Declarations of interest. I'll be declaring a declaration of interest at 10.11, and I'll be leaving the room at that point. Any other? We've got a few people hands. I might go around the room. So if you can call out the item number, and if you could press the button. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mick. What's your conflict?
10.6 in regards to the Paxton Street. My father was involved with the Gawler Car Club. He's part of the committee that's deciding about the land. However, I don't believe it's any real conflict to myself or benefits them. So I'm causing a general conflict. I'll be remaining and voting the best interests of the Gawler community.
Thank you. If you can reiterate that at the item number. Thank you. Next is Councillor Koch, I think.
10.3 is to do with the Gawler Business Development Group quarterly report. I'll be just declaring a general interest because I'm not getting a general conflict. I'm not getting any procurement benefit, and I'll leave the room, but I'll declare that again when we get there.
Thank you. Who's next? Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. I've actually got two. Firstly, a material conflict with item 10.3 regarding the Gawler Business Development Group.
Yes.
And also just a general conflict with item 10.6, the car club, the Little Paxton Street. And I'll address that when we get there. Is that
sorry?
I'll address how to
Okay.
I'll deal with that when we get there. Is that right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Who's next? Are you next, Councillor Ballalonga? Yes. Do you want to turn your mic on, Jim, please? Thank you. There you go.
Yes, item 12.5. I'm owner of land in that area, but I'll be staying at the meeting at this stage.
Okay, thank you. We'll address it when we come to that item. Who's next? I'll go Councillor Hughes.
19.2, the legal advice. I've got a general conflict.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Councillor Hennessy.
Yes, I've got a material code of conflict in 16.2. Should we get to that? I'll declare it at that point.
16.2?
16.2, one of the notices of motions.
Okay.
I need it straight.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. And we'll move on to no more declarations of interest. Just checking. A couple of people didn't put their hand up, so I just might sort of just double check. Okay. Excellent. So we're moving on to agenda items, and Councillor White, you have a motion. Would you like to present your motion, please?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'm happy to move this motion, but I'd like to just add an amendment at the end that where it says and provides a report back to council on points A, B, C and D. I'd like to add by the May 2023 ordinary council meeting. After consulting with the CEO, we both agreed that that's adequate time for staff to prepare the report and
Put that up. Yep.
if I'm happy to move that as amended. Thank you.
You'd like to speak to it?
Yes. So during the 2022 local government election campaign, many members of the Gawler community expressed their interest in the benefits of creating the infrastructure to encourage and allow recreational vehicles such as caravans, camper vans and camper trailers to park within the town of Gawler. Many travellers, particularly caravanners and campers on longer road trips, seek out easy to access towns, services and places to park when looking for locations and points of interest to stop at. According to the Campervan and Motorhome Club of Australia, travellers spend on average $770 per week at local businesses when they are able to easily stop and stay at towns. Currently, the town of Gawler's Welcome Recreational Vehicles initiative is not adequate to cater for more than 3 to 4 large recreational vehicles at any given time, being 1 at the Gawler Visitor Information Centre and 2 to 3 adjacent to the Gawler Caravan Park on Main North Road. Further to this, both parking areas have parking limits of 4 and 2 hours respectively, making it particularly uninviting for travellers to stop and provide sufficient time to explore our central business district, grab a meal, shop at our retail stores, or explore our town's heritage on foot. This motion simply allows council staff to investigate the feasibility, infrastructure required and associated costs to construct a purpose-built recreational vehicle parking area, which is in closer proximity to Murray Street, allows more vehicles to park, contains easy entry and exit access, and is more encouraging for travellers to stop and park in. Now, point C of the motion refers to a dump point, which allows travellers with portable toilets to dispose of their waste in a safe and hygienic manner. This is an appeal for travellers when looking for towns to stop in. I'm aware the town of Gawler currently has 2 dump points for public use at the Gawler Caravan Park and the Gawler Gateway Tourist Park for a small fee to travellers who are not staying within the parks. Further to this, point D requests council to investigate the feasibility of the proposed recreational vehicle parking area to allow overnight parking. I'm aware this may negatively impact the Gawler Caravan Park's business. However, directing council to investigate this option would allow elected members to make an informed decision on this matter in the future. Personally, I would only support points C and D in future if the investigation showed that allowing overnight parking would increase travellers staying in our town for one-night stays, where they boost our local economy by supporting our local hospitality and retail venues. This investigation specifically aligns with the actions in the 2019 to 2024 Town of Gawler Tourism Plan, which lists parking as a key action to achieve and states that council should continue to review parking in key visitor locations for caravans and RVs. I ask elected members to support this motion so that in the future we can make an informed decision on the future of tourism within the town of Gawler. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? I saw Councillor Davies. Do you wish to speak?
Just to say, look, this is a very, I think, sensible approach of we need the costs and resources before we can go ahead with further decision making. And so I'd like to see a report come back to council.
Any other discussion? Councillor Hennessy, I saw your hand, and then Councillor Ballalonga.
Thank you, Mayor. I will vote in favour of this because for 2 reasons. I too believe that we need to investigate every possibility of tourism in the town. And I'm very much about putting this topic, which has been going on in this community for at least 10 years, bringing all the information into one report and presenting it back to the public so that everyone can see the history, the prior costings, the fors and against, so that it's very clear. Having said that, from my own knowledge and research, I note that there are no RVs in either metropolitan or the peri-urban. So there are no RV parks in the Barossa, in Clare, in the Adelaide Hills, or the Fleurieu Peninsula. The nearest to us would be Kapunda and Hamley Bridge. Both of those are actually in recreation grounds or in tourist areas. There are a number of others, but the only one, I guess, other than that, perhaps in the metropolitan area areas would be St Kilda. And none of those are near, obviously, big shopping or tourist shopping areas rather. I've also received some fairly direct input from the members of the Gawler Business Development Group, who are concerned about the possibility of the undermining of two very successful businesses, the caravan parks in this town. They are also concerned, given the traffic management concerns that we have heard about already, the impact of bringing very large vehicles, towing vehicles into the CBD. So I think that'll have to be investigated as well. I've had phone calls from the residents of 8th Street who are not that keen, I have to tell you, about the thought of RVs going down their street. And lastly, I've had a member of the Noack family approach me to remind the council that the land that we know as Goose Island was actually donated to the community for the purposes of a park open space area. So I'd like to see all of that covered, I guess, in this report, so that again, we can put it in the public arena, and perhaps this very successful lobbying of the Camper and Motorhome Club of Australia, who I've got to tell you, got to be up there with one of the best lobbying groups in the country, we can very much put this decision again to bed. Thank you.
Any speakers against? Councillor Koch.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll actually be voting against this because we've actually got all this information already, albeit there might be a bit of tweaking to it, but really the fundamental information is there. And I just want to go through a few of those things. The first one is an issue around competitive neutrality. And this is where a council provides a service that the private enterprise is actually providing. In this case, we'll be providing a service that's non-powered sites plus the dump in direct competition with two of the other caravan parks. Now, I don't know whether we can actually get over that over the requirements that council has around competitive neutrality, because we get a benefit, we're an advantage to private enterprise because we can get funds at a cheaper rate. We have land, we have staff that can do things, you know, we can do things a lot cheaper, I suppose, than the caravan park owners. So we have a competitive advantage. So we need to make sure that we're not using council or community funds to actually provide a service to another group in competition to our businesses. The next reason why there's no RV friendlies in the metropolitan area is simply because there is an issue with putting black material into the sewer system. The one at St Kilda is actually a septic system, and that's the only RV friendly site in the metropolitan area. So they're actually septic. So all the other RV friendly sites around the state are all on septic systems or STEDs. We're on a sewerage system. Now the SA Water are quite strict about what you can do there. So you must lock the facility, you must monitor it, you must record what goes down there. And if anything goes down there that's not appropriate, council's at risk and can be fined. Now, I did contact the Tea Tree Gully Council, who were looking at exactly the same issue, and they came to the same conclusion. So, you know, that was a huge issue and a risk. Now, a lot of people talk about Goose Island, and thank you, Councillor Hennessy. I mean, I've seen Goose Island in winter, it's sodden, and I've seen it in summer, it's a fire risk. We had some parking there over Christmas a couple of years ago, and every morning they had to send out the water truck to actually douse the area because of issues of vehicles coming in and igniting a fire. So with Goose Island is basically an area that gets flooded. Every 10 years, everything washes away, but during winter it gets sodden. And then in summer, it's a fire hazard. Then you've got one of Air Street. That should be a car park for all day parking. And that's part of our traffic management system we talked about the other day. The other issue is to do with looking at community land. Because the land that we've got is on a community title where people use it. And if you want, it's called a special class of people to have exclusive use of community land, you have to go and change that. Now that's a really big issue. And so that's a big issue. You then have issues with community consultation, 8th Street, etc., people in Gawler. The other issue I'd love to talk about is the figure that's always given, $750 per week. I've actually done a lot of research on that, and that figure is actually much less when you actually talk about what's actually spent in your community, because that 750 actually covers your registration of your vehicle, your caravan, your insurance, your health cover, your telephone, and all the other things that you need to spend to survive as, you know, each day of the year, because that's the figure that people work on, that they can say, this is how long I can spend out for a year. So they use that 750 figure, and that's all the other expenses that they have on top of their daily living. So just be very cautious about using that 750 figure, because that's touted around, but it's not actually what people physically spend in your community. It's probably more around the 300 or even less. Because you have to remember, these people are trying to stretch the dollar as far as they can. So they're not out there gaily spending money. They're not. Risk of numbers.
30 seconds.
Yeah. So essentially I'm saying that the material's already there. We just need to read it. We can do our own research. We've already looked at it 4 to 5 times. We've said it's not really, not really viable. And I think we should just, okay, we'll probably vote it up, but I think the information will come back and we'll all have to look at it, but I won't be voting for this. Thank you.
Councillor Vallelonga. Can you turn your, I've got it, that's it, yeah. No. Yeah, thank you.
I'll be voting for it. I just want to mimic what Councillor Ethan White said. I do believe that one thing that Mr. Kosh said, that will be the council is part of, owns the caravan park, and I believe that's a conflict of interest. I believe in fair competition, and I do believe in tourism, and I think this is the right way to go.
Thank you. Councillor Solomon.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll be supporting the motion. I just want to, I think it's important to say that there's a lot of important things which have been raised here, but I personally think that those things should be made as fact in a report and presented to council, because there is a lot of information there which has, been present in the chamber tonight, and I would really like to see that in some sort of format. Also, there are some serious issues which are raised. I mean, Councillor Kosh raised competitive neutrality. If that is an issue and has any legal and economic implications, I would definitely like to see that in a report. But I think looking at those benefits as well, any benefit or detriment to the town, any legal or economic issues, I think it does go, there is always research that we can do on our own, but I think really, bringing this into the public domain, as Councillor Hennessy said, having all the facts in front of us is the way that we need to proceed as a council, and that's good governance in my view.
Any other discussion? Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, just briefly. Yeah, I'm a bit torn about this, but at the end, I do think we probably do need a report to sort of emphasise the, especially the economic benefits and the competition. I think we do have to be very careful because there is already angst between our ratepayers in 8th Street and the streets around already, and we don't want our ratepayers. But I think just getting a straight, simple report. We've had over 10 years of different bits and pieces, but it'd be good to have an update. I am also mindful that these reports cost a lot of time and staff efforts, but I think on balance it probably works. Hopefully, if this sort of gets this matter over with all the information that's available in one document. Yeah, I am also concerned about the angst that this will raise in our community as well. So there is already angst, and yeah, there is a reason why RV Friendly got knocked back previously, lots of reasons, but it'd be good to get a report again, I think. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor White, you can wrap up the debate. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I guess just to reiterate to all members, firstly, thank you for your input. First of all, reiterating, this is just a motion to start an investigation and get a report back. We're not we're not putting anything physically on the ground yet. I just want to be able to ensure that all members have all the options on the table so that we have got the facts, as Councillor Solomon has said, and we can make an informed decision. Also, the tourism market has changed significantly, particularly due to COVID over the past few years. To ensure that all of our facts and figures are up to date, I think is very important. Just to address a few councillors' concerns. First of all, this motion doesn't specify that we're looking at RV friendly. I need to reiterate that. This is just looking at a broad parking area for recreational vehicles. It doesn't specify RV friendly. There's lots of pros and cons to RV friendly, and yes, within the metropolitan area, there are not a lot of RV friendly sites. There are none for certain reasons, but that doesn't mean towns don't have facilities for recreational vehicles within the metropolitan area and the broader Adelaide area. So just to reiterate, this is not necessarily investigating RV friendly. It is just investigating parking areas for recreational vehicles. Talking about caravan parks negatively being affected. Yes, I understand that is also why we need to investigate this. The build-up of RVs and caravans within our CBD and main streets, they're already there. If you sit and have a coffee at Chibo on the main street, you will see the caravans and RVs driving past. They just don't have anywhere to park. So yes, we'll be promoting it, and yes, there may be an increase, but I think that we're really capturing a market that already exists in our town. Again, Councillor Koshy raised lots of concerns, which I think are really great. But again, through this investigation, I think we'll be able to answer them, and we'll be able to have some facts and figures around that. Excuse me. Regarding the $770, the research I undertook showed that that was $770 spent each week in local communities, not any bills or overhead costs that people have. And the notion that people travelling aren't willing to spend money, from my expert experience, is not true. When you've got caravans that are six-figure values, people have money and they're happy to spend it in towns. And so I guess just to wrap it up, to reiterate, this is just an investigation. This is a motion that would instruct council staff to investigate the feasibility and possibilities around this, and give us up-to-date facts and figures on what an issue that I've seen the community is very, very invested in. So again, I would encourage all members to please support this motion. Thank you.
The debate is finished. Put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, it is carried. Thank you. Councillor Davies.
So, yeah, so this is my motion to increase the budget for our participatory budgeting project. So participatory budgeting is a program that brings council budgets back to their core purpose, which is in creating a budget that reflects the community's vision for Gawler. While we do try to consult when a budget comes around, only a small number of dedicated individuals each year are going to have the time and energy to get through hundreds of pages of bureaucratic documents, quite understandably. Last year, we trialled the participatory budgeting program, which gives members of our community the opportunities to submit and vote on ideas for our local community infrastructure, such as water fountains and benches around the town. That way, rather than people feeling like council is something that's done to them, they can feel like council is something they're a real stakeholder in. They can pass by those water fountains or their solar panels and think, I helped this happen. This is my town, the town I helped to build. It was a big success already in only its first year. It had a range of valuable submissions and 300 local residents who participated at the voting stage. Originally, when I introduced the motion for the first participatory budgeting plan, I went with $40,000 because it was the number that the City of Burnside went in their own version of this project. But to be clear, that was a somewhat arbitrary number. It doesn't reflect our own community infrastructure needs in this town, which are high as a growing council. Given that the trial year was a success, I think it makes perfect sense to lean into it as a priority investment. This is not a huge amount by infrastructure standards compared to the amount we spend on new footpaths, new roads, for example. This, infrastructure is a large part of our spending. But this is an especially efficient use of council resources because it fulfills two goals of the council at once. Our infrastructure needs, which are there, and to ensure that our town is a community and not just a corporation. So I'd ask that you all support my motion. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vallelonga, do you wish to speak? Any discussion? If, Councillor Koch.
I'll be voting against this motion. We're actually a growth council. When we've got an asset management plan, got a financial management plan, et cetera, we need as councillors to be strategic in our spending and what we invest in. I just see this as adding onto our existing deficit, really, because we still need to do all those, you know, we need to look after all those items in the asset management plan. This is just something extra. When we talk about Burnside, they're actually an established council. I've got a friend that lives in an established council, and they say, he says, well, a lot of times we've got nothing to spend the money on because we've got everything. You know, we've got a lot of things that we need to do as a growth council other than put in little bits and pieces all around the place. I understand people like to get involved, and that's what they elect us for. They elect us to make the strategic decisions. And those decisions are, you know, have to be big decisions. So I'm very, very concerned that we just add on more to the deficit. I mean, I would be happy if we said the extra would come out of the allotment that our elected members' budget that we have. So there's no net increase in the debt. That would be fine. But this actually adds to our deficit and our debt. So I can't support it. Thank you.
Any other discussion, David, Councillor Hughes?
I'm a little bit concerned because I did support it last year, and I thought it was good, the $40,000, because we're able to get a little small projects that some of the communities wanted. I have seen there was a government very big budget bid where basically people had to vote, and there was people at the train stations, there was people with iPads everywhere getting people's votes. And I mean, it did really well for Gawler. Gawler got a lot of infrastructure out of it, but it was basically who lobbied the best got what they wanted. And whether that was strategic or not, in a lot of cases, it wasn't really that strategic. I mean, for certain groups that were very good at lobbying, they got what they wanted, but some of the important things that we actually wanted for the town, we didn't quite. Yeah, it was all about lobbying, unfortunately. And yeah, I believe our deficit this year is going to be quite substantial with extra costs. So I think if we could find $60,000 worth of savings, but even then, it's not strategic. But I did think the 40,000, because it wasn't. It was sort of like under a price barrier as well, and we did get extra bits and pieces. And I thought overall it did work cost effectively. But yeah, once we go to 100,000, I can see quite huge lobbying for projects that won't be strategic, won't be in our strategic plan, will be things that we'll have to depreciate, will be a cost to our community to maintain, things that we haven't planned for. It'll be all based on how good you are at lobbying. So I'll be voting against it. Thanks.
Councillor Hennessy.
Yeah, I've thought hard and long about this. I like the idea of the participatory budget, and I certainly think that if we stick to the 40,000, I think that's a very good idea. I actually think it's going to be a tough budget, and we're going to have to make some really hard decisions. So I don't think there's 60,000 spare. I mean, if we cut it from somewhere else, maybe as Councillor Koch said, out of our allocations, that might be, a little bit more palatable. But I also, like Councillor Hughes, have concerns that this, while I would love to see more people, and I think it's our role to encourage them to provide feedback to the business, to the budget plan, this sets up small patches of the communities against each other, because everyone's going to lobby for a project in their neighbourhood. And I think you can see that in the 40,000 last year's, the successful budgets, bids were the ones that came into common areas. I think it could actually have some problems, but primarily I'm against raising it by another 60,000 in this year. I think we haven't got the money to start to move that type of increase. Thank you. Councillor Solomon.
Question for Councillor Davies, if that's allowed, Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question comes to
So
me.
it comes to you.
Yes.
It was just what was the intention behind this figure of a 60,000 increase, and what sort of envisaged as
Well,
being
I
part of
think
that?
councillor Davies explained that rather well in his opening statements. He said that he believed that it needed to be higher. It was an arbitrary figure that I heard you say, and from Burnside Council, that was the first council that did participatory budgeting for $40,000. So I think councillor Davies did actually explain that rather well. Yeah.
That represents the views of Councillor Davies.
Yes,
that
that's,
statement.
I'm paraphrasing what he just said. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor White.
Thanks, me. I just have a question too. So increasing the budget from 40 to 100,000, can council still be strategic with that money? It's not necessarily, say, a bigger project or, you know, a bigger project because we've got more money. It could be more smaller projects, but we could still, could we still be strategic with, okay, here's your options, but they're still aligning with.
If this gets up, there will be a framework put in place of how much people can, you know, a limit might be 20,000, it might be 10, depends. It really depends on the report that comes back, but we had a framework of a limit of how much people could go for. And I think there were some drinking fountains, there were some seats, there were various other items that people really wanted. And again, it was in different neighbourhoods, and it, you know, it depends on people being aware of the participatory budgeting process. And there would be a promotional exercise, which we did last time, which I'm assuming we would do again, to alert our community that, you know, this exists. So there would be a limit of how much people could apply for, and there would be, it would come back to council, we could determine the limit. But if you said 100,000, that's only one person. So you probably have a bit lower, I would suggest.
Yes.
And yeah, and that's exactly what we did with the 40,000.
I see. So it's not necessarily making the project bigger, it's just allowing the budget to be bigger so council still could decide on how that's, I guess, divvied up.
It would come back, and there would be people who would be on a selection committee, as per the last time, I'm assuming, and that seemed to work reasonably well.
Yeah, so in very simple terms, it could be last time we could only have one water fountain, this time there could be three. That's however council
It really
determines.
depends on what people want.
Yes, yeah, okay, that's okay. I guess I just wanted to double check. It's not a, now we're going to do something that's going to cost
I'm not
more.
going to preempt what the community
No,
would
of
like.
course, yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, councillor Davies, you can wrap up the debate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so firstly, to clarify the process, what we did last time was there was a $40,000 you know, overall amount, but it was actually $20,000 projects that were the limit. And so that's the idea of 100,000 isn't that we would now go into $100,000 projects, but that theoretically we could have 5 small projects, or we could say, well, rather than 20,000, let's make it $30,000, $33,000 projects. You know, so that's the idea behind it. And look, when it comes to the budget, this is, yeah, it's an awkward timing situation because I'll have plenty to say about the budget when it comes up, but it's impossible for me to remove things at this stage where there's no budget. And we have to do this earlier because the participatory budgeting works alongside the budget. By the time we make our decision, the framework will already be in place. So this is something we have to decide before that, which is why I can't, you know, say, oh, well, here's where I'll find these savings, and here's the, just as a matter of the timing. And look, fundamentally, I think, look, I disagree on this not being strategic spending. I think community is our strategy. Our community plan is our overriding document. There are many parts of our community plan that are fulfilled by what we're doing here. I don't think it's just trivial little bits and pieces because we're bored or anything like that. These park benches and all these kind of things are infrastructure that will decide whether people are going to walk around the town and all of this kind of thing. It's important, it's valuable. And yeah, I know there are some concerns around the way we do things there. We've had some feedback after the last one actually about making sure that there's not a neighborhood, everything goes into one place and all that kind of thing. And I think part of that is why I wanted to increase the number of available options so that, because it could be part of our framework that we say, here's a limit on, per suburb or per park or whatever, we can build around that framework in the future. And that's not part of this motion because that's something that's just coming up and it will be based on the staff's experiences with the way the process went last time. So I guess I think that should cover most of what I wanted to say there. So yeah, I'd ask everyone to support this motion.
So the debate is finished. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is lost. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Councillor Davies has called their division. All those in favour, please stand. All those in favour, please stand. I'll call your names out. Councillor White, Councillor Davies, Councillor Vallelonga and Councillor Solomon. All those against are Councillor Lorna, Councillor Kosh, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Hennessy and Councillor Samble. The motion is lost. Thank you. So now we move on to decision reports. I'm on page 7 of 133, the Quickest Warmth project. I'd like to introduce Prue O'Donovan. Prue, are you going to say some words? There may not be any questions, but you can stand there. Yeah, you stay there in case there are.
The only thing
I probably won't be allowing many questions.
That's
but now, did you have your hand up, Councillor Hughes? Did you want to move that motion?
Yes, I'm really happy to move this motion. I think it's a great work and great partnership. So happy to support it.
So Councillor Samble will second the motion because I heard him first. I saw lots of other people putting their hand up, but I heard Councillor Samble. Do you wish to speak at all, Brian? No, thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Councillor Lorna.
Yeah, I think this is a really great initiative that needs to be supported wholly by the council and the community around us. I would like to see the council actually support more marketing, because to tell you the truth, until I started seeing this, I apologise.
That could be arranged.
Yep, that's good. That's good. I also noticed in here there's about an urn and a fridge that you guys would need to probably help out. I would really like to see and think that the council could probably do that. We could take it out of the meal budgets we've just got rid of. So I'm happy to give that to you guys if we can, if we're allowed to. So.
Sorry, I was interrupted by the CEO. I beg your pardon. Can you say that again, please?
I would like to help them out with their fridge and urns taken out of our meal allowances.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Councillor Lorna. See that? See that?
Meal allowances to the council house. You missed me. See, you've got to pay attention to me if we can.
Well, I was interrupted. I had people in my ear. I beg your pardon. I'm terribly sorry. Okay, right. Thank you very much, Councillor Lorna. Any other discussion, Councillor White?
Thanks, man. No, again, I'd just like to echo my support. I think it's a fantastic project and very happy for council to support it. One question I did have is within the documents, talked about the urn, talked about a few other things. It did talk about a lightweight board to be manufactured over the top of the pool table. Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
Just wanted to question, is that going to be council funding that? Yes, that's right. Okay. I just probably want to reiterate to make sure that manufactured. It's not going to be custom made too much and it'd do the job, but not going to cost ratepayers too
Yeah,
much money.
It will do the job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kosh, you've got your hand up.
I've only got one question. I just want to, in the report, it talks about storage.
Yeah.
Will it get,
Yeah.
will it get to a point where there's not enough storage space?
I'll just turn you on through. There you go. You've got it on. There you go.
We're already at that stage. I don't know how we're gonna fit it in, but we'll do something. It's a small
Prue's been
space.
putting it in her house currently. Yeah. Yeah. So, yes. There you go.
Yeah, because when I read it, that was the only issue I had. So is it actually a good option if you already run out of space? Is that an
Well,
issue?
I guess the question is to me. So I guess the question will be around how we manage that space. And if we move, if there's promotional opportunities, Prue, through, we do lots of promotional opportunities with different community groups, etc., through our social media channels. And if all of these blankets, etc., can be moved to people in need, you're not going to need a lot of space. They're going to go out. So I think that Prue's done a very good job in her house and now needs somewhere a little bit bigger to store areas. And I look, personally, I think it is an exceptionally important project for people in need. Yeah. Yes, Councillor Kosh.
Yes, I agree. I think it's a fantastic project and it's doing a wonderful job for people in the community. And with your answers, I'm quite happy with that now. So I'm happy to support it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Hughes, you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we go back to confirmation of the minutes because I skipped them. Oops. So that's on item 8, ordinary council meeting 24th of January 2023. You happy to move that way? Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Vallelonga. Thank you. If there's no discussion, yes?
I'm sorry, but I would like a small amendment. I made a public statement in which I indicated I was both a member and a volunteer of the Gawler
Yes.
Show Society.
Yes.
And because I was making a statement about
Yes.
potential conflict, I'd like that recorded, please. So not just a volunteer, but also a member.
If that can be noted, Chris, our minute taker. And so Councillor Hennessy noted that member and volunteer in her personal statement, needs to be included. Needs to be included. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I think that covers Councillor Hennessy. You happy with that, those words? Okay. Councillor Hughes, are you happy with that? Thank you. And Councillor Vallelonga, you happy with those extra words? It's just a minor detail. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So that deals with that. Business arising from the minutes. If there's no further business arising, we'll move to item 10.2. We've dealt with 10.1. 10.2, Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority funding options. We have I'll take the report as read. We do have Mr. Ian Baldwin here and Mr. David Hitchcock, Executive Officer. Ian Baldwin is of course the Chair of the Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority and Mr. David Hitchcock is the Executive Officer. So we do have a recommendation. How do you wish to proceed? Councillor Kosh.
I'd like to move the motion.
Yes,
That's
do you wish to speak to it?
Yep, I do.
Thank you.
As you read in the agenda and the attachments, the authority is looking at different options to mitigate some of the risk involved with flooding above us and below us. And that will incur a lot of funding required. And to actually do that, you actually need to have the business case, a solid business case, so you can actually take to the funding bodies, so you can get the funding. I mean, you're talking millions and millions of dollars. It's beyond councils to fund that. So it will be federal and the state governments that will fund the majority of that. You cannot go to those governments, those tiers, and say, please give us these millions and millions of dollars for these works without having this business plan in place. Now, this business plan has to be very, very robust. We've had a state of the catchment report is now finalised, and the stormwater management plan is finalised. Those two documents feed into the business plan. We need, and so that's fantastic. Those two are done. We now need the business plan done. As you've noted, a lot of councils aren't necessarily supporting it, but I think our council should support it because it is supporting the whole catchment. It's supporting our colleagues to the upstream and our colleagues to the downstream. So it's a very important thing that we do because we need to do something with the river, and we need to mitigate some of the risks involved with the flooding. And that's very, very important for our community and also the wider community. So I would ask all elected members to support this motion. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Solomon, thank you. Do you wish to speak at all? Any questions for Mr. Ian Baldwin or David Hitchcock? No? So we have a mover and a seconder. Oh, did you have your hand up?
Thanks, Mayor. I did have a question. I just had to find it. I'm just wondering, I guess, for my own personal benefit, what will the business case actually do? What justifies? There's a huge expense here, and Town of Gawler are a small contributor into an overall about $2 million. So I guess if we could have just explain briefly, what does the business case actually do?
It actually does say in our agenda, and I'll read out the paragraph. Central to this work is the formulation of a business case that will form the basis of submissions to both state and federal governments for future funding to realise and undertake works to future-proof communities to ongoing threats of flooding. Now, Gawler, as we know, is one of the highest areas of flood risk in the state. The business case is required by Infrastructure SA as per that agency's infrastructure assurance framework. This is required prior to state government considering any infrastructure investment. I think that encapsulates that question that you've just asked, Councillor White. Yes. Can you add anything, Ian or David, to that? You're quite welcome to do so.
Mayor and councillors, yeah, I think the report covers the purpose of that business plan fairly well. What it does is it reviews a number of options for flood mitigation, catchment, and lower catchment, and it will make a recommendation based on priorities for work to be done. For instance, there's a lot of work being done currently to assess the Bruce Eastick Dam to see whether it can be raised and what the cost might be. The business plan will take us to an 80% design performance for that, which will prove the importance and the purpose of the dam. With that work being done, if that is the option, the preferred option to go ahead, we can then present that to state and federal governments and hopefully obtain funding, major part of funding for that work to be done in the future.
So I've got a question. Local governments need to go into partnership with state and federal, and if we don't provide any financial component to that, what does that look like?
It doesn't fare well for the councils. I can perhaps recall some of the discussions that we had in 2017 with the then government. Of course, we had the Northern Floodway project present to state and federal government, and we were advocating for funds. The state government said to us, look, at that time, I think some councillors might recall, the Adelaide Plains Council were seeking to withdraw their membership of the authority. The state government said to us, unless you can get all councils working as one for this project, it's unlikely the state or federal government would support any funding for the purpose.
Yeah, so another question, the value of Gawler being part of a business case?
Value to Gawler is, as we perhaps read in the stormwater management plan that's just been prepared, that it identifies the priority that needs to be given to levee infrastructure in Gawler West. So that's a direct benefit. Of course, if the Bruce Eastick flood mitigation dam is raised, that will perhaps mitigate against flows, velocity of flows and volumes of flows that might come into the North Parra River. And of course, I know the council is looking at the work that it needs to do in the South Parra to address some of those issues as well.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for those answers. Councillor Lorna. Hang on, there we go.
Hang on, right. Also got a question, what's in regards, it's the Barossa Council deciding not to make any financial contribution. Where does that leave us? So we're just saying that all of the councils need to get involved, but Barossa's said no. Sorry, through the chair.
Ian, do you want to address that question? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I think it's important because you said everybody needed to be involved. However, you know, why would Gawler be involved if not Barossa? And I think that's the nux of the question from Councillor Lorna.
Through you, Mayor. Obviously, I'm very disappointed that Barossa hasn't resolved to support a contribution for this purpose. They say that they don't have any cost benefit for works that might be done downstream, that they have undertaken and raised revenue for the works that they've done within their own council area. I believe that Barossa Council has an obligation to contribute, whilst they may have resolved flood issues within the township, they are contributing to flood issues further downstream, and particularly once we get to the Gawler River and beyond. We've had a number of meetings with the CEO, with the mayor, with councillors. Unfortunately, at their last meeting, they decided to stay resolute and not make a contribution to this work. I'm hoping that the contributions made by the other 5 councils will carry through and we'll be able to get the support of the Department for Environment and Water to continue the work that's being done on the business case. I think then if we can do that at the same time, perhaps the 5 councils, the state government, community, industry might perhaps be able to put a bit of pressure on the Barossa Council and get them to reconsider their decision, hopefully in favour of a collegiate approach to flood mitigation.
And I think that point is really important because this being part of an authority is not just about your little council. It's about the entire catchment. And that's why the authority was formed in 2001. And that's how we got the Bruce Eastick Dam. We worked together and we got the Bruce Eastick Dam with some federal government funding. And looking strategically across the catchment, we all contribute. We all contribute. And I think that you need to look a little bit beyond your own boundaries sometimes when you're a part of an authority. And I think that, having a collective approach, working together as a group of councils shows a strength to state and federal government, and it gives a stronger case to getting, you know, $20 million or 100 million, whatever it is that we need to raise, whatever it is that we need to do to the Bruce Eastick Dam or levies or whatever, or the Northern Floodway, whatever that term is. It all benefits all of us, because if there's a blockage down in Virginia, we're going to get flooded. If there's if the water comes down with a rush down and we've seen it with the North Para and the South Para flooded overnight, and we had to, you know, it is important that we work as a team. I think that's just my view. Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to support this. I don't envy you, sir, in getting 6 councils to all work together. But I concur with the Mayor's comments that it is absolutely vital. Councillor Samble and I both attended a recent disaster resilience day, in which it was made abundantly clear we actually walked across the floodplain, the flood zone, and my background from myself and my family's involvement in emergency management says that we need to treat this seriously. We need to continue to move forward. And we know as a council that you need a business case in place, a strong, robust business case in place to be able to deal with other parts of council. So I will have support for this.
Any other discussion? Councillor Lorna.
Don't get me wrong, I support this. I'm more so calling out Barossa Council for not supporting anything downstream. We spend a lot of money with the Barossa Council each year, which would probably be, you know, part of this payment. So more or less want it on the record that I'm disappointed that they're not getting involved with the rest of the councils to make this work.
I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm disappointed too, but I think that there might be pressure put on and they may well come to the table. So who knows? Diplomacy is a very interesting subject sometimes. Any other? Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, just on the diplomacy, is there anything we can add to our recommendation to sort of help that effect? Because there is a lot of development going on in Lyndoch and Uriupta and Tanunda that all adds to stormwater, residential and everything else.
Yeah.
Just go through the.
Well, I'm not sure. Ian, Mr. Baldwin or David, any words of wisdom, wordsmithing, where there seems to be a desire to add some words. If you've got any words that you wish us to add, now is the time to say it.
Thanks. Thanks, Ian.
Mayor, I have 2 thoughts, I guess. One is, yes, it would be nice to have that idea, if you like, identified within your minutes. But I think at this stage, we've still got a little bit of work to be done in terms of understanding the contributions from each of the councils, how that will apply, and then from that, how we might address the Barossa Council issue and who we might involve in that process. I appreciate the thought in doing that, but I think at this time it might be better if we
not do that.
Yes.
Okay,
and
I'm hearing a bit of diplomacy right there. Yes, no, very wise words. Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Thank you, David Hughes. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Kosh, are you happy for me to put the motion? The debate is closed. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going to move to 10.3, Gawler Business Development Group, and Karen Braun is here, Executive Officer for the Gawler Business Development Group. And we do have, oh, sorry, you have a conflict of interest. Is that correct?
I have just a general conflict because an organisation I am a committee member of receives funding from this group. So
Yes.
I'll be giving this and leaving the room.
You're going to leave the room?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor White?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I have a material conflict of interest here as I've provided paid services to the Gawler Business Development Group, and I'll
Yes.
deal with the conflict by leaving the room.
Thank you very much. Any other conflicts on this particular matter? I don't think there are. Thank you very much. We'll allow councillor White to leave the room. So we have a recommendation. Councillor Solomon, would you like to move that recommendation? You're the member. for-
Yes, certainly. No, I'm more than happy to move that way.
Sorry, I'll put you on the spot there.
Yeah,
Sorry
no,
about
no,
that.
sorry. I haven't necessarily prepared anything to say. I just think it's on face value, it's all in order. There's some good things which you know, if they eventuate, will be fantastic for the town. And there's some good things that it's good to see a couple of new businesses opening and doing and running successfully. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, councillor Solomon. Do I have a seconder, councillor Hennessy? Any other discussion? If not, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you, David, if you can. Thank you. Thank you, Karen Brom. Nice words. Excellent. Sick. We'll just allow the other members to come in. Councillor White, go. All right, we might keep moving. I'm on page 19 now and 10.4 land management agreement. We have a officer's recommendation. Councillor Lorna.
Yeah, look, realistically, I'm looking at moving this or supporting this motion of refusing landowner's request, mainly because it is a significant tree.
Are you moving the motion?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
yeah,
excellent. Thank
yeah.
you.
Can I do it? Can I
I
talk?
couldn't quite work it out, but I'm clear now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you.
It's nice, simple.
Thank you.
Anyway, we'll go on.
Yeah.
Looking at you know, the tree, I understand the concerns and that the landowner actually has here, but the tree is already notified that it is a significant tree that's going to be in place and should be in place and not to be removed. You're buying the property, and the neighbours are buying the property and building with the same assumption that the tree shouldn't be removed. So yeah, I really can't support removing the tree. If you're purchasing a property, knowing that tree's there, it should be there.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Are you seconding the motion? Do you wish to speak, councillor White?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. No, this is a little bit of a tricky one too. I agree with councillor Lorna. And I understand the residents' concern, and we heard from them tonight, but unfortunately, I think it's a lot easier to take out a tree and then have one back. It is a significant tree. And also when the resident purchased the property, they were aware of the agreements in the land management agreement. So I'm going to be supporting this motion. I understand the resident may not be happy with our decision, with my point of view and whatever council decides. But I think for the betterment of the community as a whole, and particularly for the environment, it is important that tree remains.
Now, you had your hand up, councillor Kosh. Okay. Anybody else wishes to speak? If not, I'll go to you. Do you wish to speak or not?
Look, yes, I'll be supporting this motion. It's a land management agreement. The arborist did the report. We read the report. And as councillor Lorna says and councillor White says, the people bought those properties knowing that the land management agreement was in place and the tree was to stay. And as an arborist myself, I know that you can manage trees in a way that they are safe and you can live with them quite comfortably after 40 years in the industry. So sometimes people get a little bit nervous about trees, but in reality, they're relatively safe if they're managed properly. So potentially don't stop, just stop watering it. That'd be a good start. That's something. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, it's protected by our LMA. And I think one of the issues was the pruning of the tree, and I believe that if it was pruned, that would help solve some of the issues. So and the LMA allows pruning of up to 25%. I think on balance that 25% will hopefully fix some of the issues. And yeah, as the other speakers said, it was there originally. There was a lot of trees throughout that entire estate, and unfortunately, due to different reasons, a lot have been removed, unfortunately. So yeah, it's one of the few left.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Vallelonga?
Can I ask one question?
Yes, you may.
If a limb falls and kills someone, who's liable?
CEO? I'll hand that over to the CEO. Oh, can you turn that? Sorry, Henry, turn it.
The landowner.
The landowner. It's on his land. Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Lorna, are you happy for me to put that motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, it is carried. Thank you. Now we're moving on to page 23, second budget review as at 31st December 2022. I'll take it as read, statutory financial statements, capital works program and new operating initiative detailed report, which is in our attachments, plus the agenda report itself. We do have an officer's recommendation. We do have to, under the Local Government Act, do budget reviews. They're required. Okay. How do you wish to proceed? I saw Councillor Hughes and then I saw Councillor Hennessy, so I'll take that in that order.
I'm happy to yeah, with the officer's recommendation to move that motion, and yeah, just noting that our deficit is creeping up there, and yes, I think that's something we've got to be pretty mindful of. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Hennessy, are you happy to second the motion? Yep, turn it on. There you go.
Right, yes, I'm happy to second that motion. I agree with Councillor, my colleague who said the budget deficit, but as a new member of council, I am reassured by the rigorousness of our budgetary process, and also the assistance given as we try to get our heads around it. But it does underline my earlier comments about the fact that we are going to have to be very rigorous in our budget discussions and to think very carefully about all of the spending and how we do it. And that might mean making unpopular decisions. But yeah, happy to second this.
So I do know, and I know Sharon's not here tonight, who's our manager of finances. However, much of the deficit is due to depreciation. Do you want to make any comment around depreciation, CEO, which is a non-cash item, but it still is part of being a growth council? We receive all these new, and we have to depreciate them each year. And I know they're doing a deep dive, so maybe you'd like to explain what that looks like, Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so as we know, council as an entity owns millions of dollars worth of assets, and our stewardship relates to the whole of life appreciation of the assets, and it's for an annual challenge in terms of reviewing our asset management plans, which we had new asset management plans prepared after we set the budget last year, and as a consequence of revaluations of unit rates in terms of replacement and so forth. We certainly are finding depreciation as a material effect on the budget. The cautiousness of the approach taken and having this matter considered by the audit committee relative to it being delayed through to the third quarter was prudent in terms of the material nature of the consequences of our asset valuation and the depreciation values that we were seeing. We are seeing, as a consequence of the critiquing, the work that Wendy and her team with Sharon and her team are doing, is that I'm hoping that we'll be able to report some positive consequences to that further analysis, and which we'll be considering in the context of not only the budget review, but then the budget preparations for next year. So it is a cautious approach, but the right approach.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I hope that's helpful. Any other, if there's no further discussion, Councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put the motion? The debate is finished. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we move on to 10.6, and there has been, got a circle. Yes. Now I'll get you to, there we go.
Lever have a general conflict of interest. My father's involved in the car club and been part of the discussion committee in regards to the land. I do not believe that there will be any benefit towards himself or myself in regards to this, so I will remain and vote in the best interest of the community.
Thank you very much, Councillor Warner. Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I'm declaring a general conflict of interest as well, because my father is also a member of the Gawler Car Club, but I don't think any decisions made will have any financial impact, positive impact on myself or him, so I will be voting in the best interest of the community as well.
Thank you. Any other conflicts? I think there was just two, wasn't there? Okay. All right. Okay. So we have an officer's recommend. Councillor Hughes, you got your hand up?
I like the option 4 with the SES site that's been worked through. I think, there's always the option.
Are you happy to move that motion? I'm just
Yes, I'm
making
happy.
it clear.
Happy to move that motion.
Okay, thank you.
Option 4.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think there is always the option of going. They might look at Paxton Street in the future or whatever, but I think at the moment, that the SES site 40-year lease with Peppercorn, as our local MP Tony Piccolo said tonight, that sounds like a fantastic deal for the car club to me.
Okay, you happy to second the motion? I'll turn your mic on. There you go.
Can I make an amendment to it at this point?
You want to add that little bit that
basically it's should the need arise, the council is open to further discussions with the car club regarding the use of land of Little Paxton Street. There's no commitments, just allowing it to be upon the.
So you're moving an amendment? You're
That
moving
one.
an amendment. Okay, do I have a seconder for the amendment? Mover, do you accept that extra bit that was put? Sorry, I'll just turn you on. Yep.
Yeah, I just think it's the option. I think the option's always going to be there if everything falls apart. I just think, we could add it as an amendment if you want to.
It's your decision.
No,
As the mover.
I'd rather go to an amendment.
An amendment? You'd rather, okay, right. So the mover is not accepting it. So we're moving an amendment. You've moved an amendment. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor White. Okay. We have a seconder for the amendment. Can I just have the meeting regulations, please, Henry? Just to remind myself about. Yeah, thank you very much. Where are we? Procedures at meetings, amendments 13. Nathan sent it. Nathan Shanks sent the wording. Yeah. did. Okay. Do you wish to speak to your amendment?
We're basically just putting the amendment in there to allow the car club to have some. If it doesn't all work out, if they can't reach an agreement, because I believe there is no formal agreement at the moment. Had meetings from, well, notification from the car club that, they'd still like to pursue the option of the Paxton Street. It is just to leave it open for them to still discuss until a final resolution is made.
And do you wish to speak? If you speak, you've spoken in the debate, the whole debate. Okay, so you've now spoken in the debate, and if you speak, you've spoken in the debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, thanks, Mayor. I'm just going to support this amendment too, because I just think, I understand what Councillor Hughes is saying, but I just think it really solidifies that we're still open for discussion should things not work out with the SES site. It's not committing to anything. But I just think it's really important for the car club to be aware that council are still listening, still open, still willing to have all options on the table as a plan B. And I don't think this amendment actually changes anything.
I can't see the amendment.
Any particulars, but I think it does just say to the Gawler Car Club in particular and the other entities involved that we're just here for you, and we're willing to work things out just in case it doesn't work out.
Seconded by Councillor White. Chris. Thank you very much. You wish to speak? Councillor Samble?
Yeah, just a couple of things. When Tony spoke tonight, he said that he was very happy with the decision that the car club has made.
Yes.
I'm a little bit confused because at 5:15 today, we all received, every one of you, an email about the decision of the car club. None of that's been spoken.
Well, they are supporting the SES site. Yeah, that's my understanding. And I've been speaking with the president and the secretary.
I understood it was exactly what Councillor White said.
Yeah.
They just wanted to leave an option open. That's the way I understand it from the members that have spoken to me. But I was a little bit confused because when Tony mentioned before that the car club was all go with the discussion.
If I can, when we had our last meeting at the SES site, the car club were very supportive of the SES site and were wanting to proceed.
Yeah, that's right. I was out there tonight with a couple of the car club members because there was one discussion about there wasn't enough car parking. Well, there is.
Well, there's plenty of
There's
car
a
parking.
lot of area for car parking.
There's plenty of car
I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but I would like to see that, as Councillor White said, and as Councillor Lowndes said, the car club just wants to make sure that if that goes wrong, that there is an opportunity if the Paxton Street comes right.
Okay, so we've got an amendment on the table. We've had some discussion. Any further discussion, Councillor Koch?
Yeah, I just want to start by a quick statement that last time this item came up, I declared a general conflict because on the DAP, after reflection and giving some advice, because this is at a policy stage, not at a development assessment stage.
Yeah.
I've decided I don't need to declare a conflict, and so therefore I stay at the meeting. I won't be supporting the amendment because I don't think those three options, 1, 2 and 3, are viable. The first option is to take out 1.5 square metres, and you're only actually getting a small area, and that's going to cost $65,000 or something. And in the report, it actually says that it doesn't actually solve the problem because you can actually put a building on there, and if it moves, we're responsible for the integrity of that building. So therefore, option 1 actually isn't practical. Option 2 is to excavate everything. Now that's $600,000 plus.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether if you did that, every single club in Gawler would say, where's my 600,000? From the Baton Club to the footy club. I mean, it's just not, that's not going to happen. You know, surely it's not going to happen. And the third one is the steel piles down to, I think it was 6 metres, was it? but there was no guarantee that that was actually going to be solid ground.
It's got to hit solid
Yeah,
ground.
so it could be 8, could be 10 metres, who knows? And that was what, $120,000. It just goes up and up. I don't think those three options make it practical to actually put a building there. So we've done the investigations, we've had the report. The report says that all three of them really pretty unpalatable and probably don't, you know, they're not actually good options. And so therefore I can't support this going back to those three options, which I don't think are practical. And it's giving false hope to the car club that we're going to spend $60,000 digging up something and giving them basically an unstable site to build a shed, or spend $600,000 or spend 120 plus for pylons. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think the community would be very happy with us spending all that money for one group. As I said, every single group will have the handout for their $600,000. And what do we say? Oh, we can't give it to you. I mean, that's, you know, that's my view. So that's why I won't be supporting this amendment to add in that part 5.
Okay, thank you. You've already spoken, councillor Samble. Councillor Solomon?
Thank you, Mayor. I won't be supporting the motion, but the amendment, but I do want to make clear the reasoning behind that. And I largely disagree with what Councillor Koch just said about that. I would be open to hearing or to looking at a motion in the future if the SES site did not progress. I don't think it's, I don't think that we should completely rule that out. But I do think that the amendment does confuse the matter to some extent. And I think that we have a preferred option as council. This obviously state government and the local MP have a preferred option. The management or the committee of the Gawler Car Club have a preferred option. And I just don't want that to be confused in here. But certainly we can make that decision if we want as council that this fails, it comes back. And I understand that may be a political challenge, but to me, that's all it is. It's a political obstacle. There's nothing from stopping us from doing that. And I hope that if it did fail, that a councillor would bring that motion, because I do think it is really important that we look after and consider our community groups and do that on a merits basis. The slippery slope argument, I don't agree with, but I will not be voting for this amendment on the basis I think it confuses what's going on here.
I think that it has to be said that our local member has worked very hard at bringing these groups together, and the previous government weren't interested in the SES site. We couldn't even get a dialogue. Now we've got a dialogue. We've got the SES sitting at the table, agreeing to a 40-year lease at a peppercorn rate, uncontaminated land, solid, plenty of room. I'd just like to congratulate the local member, Tony Piccolo, because I think he's done an outstanding job of bringing these groups together. I think it's an exceptional site, and I think that the car club will see their shed built within a few months, to be quite frank. And I think, you know, there needs to be a definite pathway forward, but, you know, it's a matter for all of you people around the table. Councillor Davies.
Look, I'm happy to support the amendment. I don't think it's particularly confusing. It's a noting point that it's not bringing back anything else as a preferred option. It's not, it's just this is a motion that will include option 4 as the preferred option. This is a noting point acknowledging something that, you know, just dealing with, you know, issues that the car club might be worried about, but like, this doesn't say that we're going to go forward with this. This is just a noting point that's, I think, very clear. I don't see it as confusing, I guess.
Thank you. Councillor Lorna, I'm going to ask you to wrap up the debate. Thank you.
Basically, on the back of what Councillor Davies is saying, this is more just allowing for the option to look if anything goes pear-shaped, so to speak. You know, we need to get to a resolution here from what I think we've already got 3 options in here, apart from the SES, that if we pass the original motion, it's still there, from what I can understand. Those options are still there. So we haven't come to a complete resolution yet on what's actually going to happen. So.
Thank you. The debate is now closed. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is lost. Thank you. So we go back to the original motion. Now, most people have spoken apart from Councillor Vallelonga. He's about the only one that hasn't spoken. So, and Councillor Hennessy, yes. You were no. We have a seconder. Who was the seconder? I think you, that's right. So you are still the seconder. You are still the seconder. So, are you withdrawing your seconding? Are you happy for that? Yeah. So Chris, Councillor Lorna is the seconder. Any other discussion, given that most people have spoken? Okay. If not, Councillor Hughes, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. I'm going to have a quick break so that we can stretch our legs and do what we need to. And then we'll go to the netball court. It'll be 10 to 10 by the time we come back. 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm surprised you went there. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Got my black coffee. No milk, no. No, no. No. All right, okay. Okay, so I think we might get started. Thank you, everyone. If you'd like to come forward, you all the way down the back there. Come forward. Don't be shy. So I'm on page 42 of 133, and it's 10.7 Netball Court redevelopment, Gawler Districts Netball Association project update and acquisition approval. This is authorise the release of the open tender. You wish to move that way, Councillor Hughes?
Yes, and so it will come back to us, but I think this is the way forward. So yeah, no, that's a great motion.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy, you wish to second and you don't wish to speak? Is that, I've got that right? Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to 10.8, which is Apex Inclusive Play Space. I was really excited about this, actually. I really think that so I'm going to ask if there's anyone wishing to move that way. Councillor Ballalonga wishes to move the motion that's in our documents. I'm assuming, Jim, is that correct? Yes, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor White. Do you wish to speak, Councillor White?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to say this is a very, very exciting initiative. I think the community of Gawler will very much benefit from this. I did have one question though. In the attachments we were sent, it talked about the Everyone Can Play guideline for inclusive SA by the SA government, but it was the New South Wales government document.
Yeah, it was New South Wales.
Yeah, and I couldn't find, I did do a little Googling. I couldn't find an SA one. I don't know if there was that maybe could be sent. Either way, the New South Wales one was still an interesting read. But I just wanted to make sure everything applied to here in SA. So
thank you. Thank you. I'm going to, you've got your hand up, Councillor Hennessy. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm also strongly in support of this. I think it's very exciting as well. My first question, I was started reading this and I wanted to, my note to myself was service club support. And I do note that on page 53, when we're talking about consultation, there is an excellent 5-paragraph explanation of what stakeholder and community engagement will occur. And in there, the reassurance was that community groups, including, of course, the Gawler Apex Club, after whom this space is named, will be involved. So my congratulations to the officer writing.
And I think that's a really important point because this talks about the first phase of community engagement. So we're going out to the community. Everybody has an opportunity to have a say, provide feedback, both positive or negative, depending on their point of view. And I think that's going to be really, really important. Thank you. Now you had a question, Councillor Kosh, and then to Councillor Samble after that.
Yeah, I went down to the site and tried to visualise all the different components in that space. Could I just get an idea of what that extra $100,000 is? The extra 90,000 would provide? I hope it's just not the fence.
Ms. Young?
Through you, Chair. So the extra 90,000 is split into a couple of different components. So about 60,000 of that is for the extra infrastructure to integrate that play space into the existing footpaths. So connecting it back into the toilet, the footpath that goes to the existing playground, connecting it all the way around into the barbecue and seating area as well. So at the moment, there is no accessible way to get to that our barbecue area. And I know $60,000 sounds like a lot, but making it all compliant is a fairly costly exercise, and it's just more than you think it is, even when you're there on site. The reason I've asked for the extra 30 on top of that 60, so that 60 has been costed out as a provisional sum through our procurement process. The extra 30 I've asked for is because the costs we've had to date don't include any fencing. There's a couple of lines of thinking around fencing inclusive play spaces, so that needs to be explored through the consultation process with the community. But to have an allowance for fencing, and just to give us also that little bit of contingency if there's a community outcry for a particular piece of equipment and it's going to cost a little bit more, just giving us that contingency, because $100,000 is a tight budget to do this type of play space.
I take my grandson there all the time. He loves it. And I see many parents really appreciative of the fencing. So I'd be really keen to see what the feedback is around that item. Yes.
Look, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that. For that answer.
Sorry about that, Councillor Kosh.
Yes, and I will be supporting it now that that's been explained, and I can see now that the need to integrate it in with the pathways, etc., especially for accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, Councillor Sample?
The only thing is that as Councillor Hennessy pointed out about the consultation, Bronte, the president of the Gawler Apex Club, contacted me and said that he'd heard that all this was going to happen and so forth. The club had not heard at all anything about it because they've been wanting to put up a sign. People are saying, well, where is Apex Park? Well, we all know where it is, but we lack a lot of signage in this town, and there's no sign to indicate that that is Apex Park. And I'm just wondering if there's been any consideration into that, and maybe as to why the Gawler Apex Club haven't been involved in the actual design and, well, discussions or whatever.
I guess thank you for those comments, Councillor Samble. I think they will have an opportunity. However, I do know that there has been some work done around dual signage for our parks. Mr. Barrett, do you know where that might be up to? And that might be an opportunity for the Apex Club to get involved in the sign?
So through the chair, there's certainly a process around dual naming of parks and reserves and signage in that space that we're working through with the Ghana community. I've also had a discussion with the president of the Apex Club earlier this evening, identifying that this playground was to go to consultation. It's not a done deal, so they will be involved in that consultation as per the report. And also he's alluded to the community grants process that's currently out and about, that the Apex Club are looking to submit an application through that for the Apex Club logo sign for Apex Park.
Okay, and would that be part of a dual signage? Would that be part of a dual signage?
Future-wise, a dual signage, but this is specifically the logo of the Apex Club to go on existing infrastructure.
Oh.
We need to still work with the Ghana community on the dual signage and naming. Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you for that update. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Vallelonga, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. 10.9 Carbeathan Reserve Master Plan Land Acquisition. This is just an update. Thank you, Bryce, for this update. We have a motion. You happy to move, councillor Hughes, and you happy to second councillor Vallelonga?
Yeah, just quickly, this, an update report, which is really great news for our community, that this is all progressing well. So yeah, well done to the staff and everyone.
I have to say that all the users that use Carbeathan, and there's quite a number of them, are really, really excited about this. And they're not only excited about the upgrades, they're excited about the land acquisition. But there's many, many people in Southern Gawler and even Gawler that will now be able to use, over time, be able to use this incredible space. We've got a seconder. Councillor Kosh, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to support this, and it's great to hear that the community are excited by this, because sometimes when you have these grand plans and you get all these concept plans, people go, oh yeah, I don't know, maybe. But now we've actually moved ahead and bought those 2 blocks of land, which is fantastic. So good to actually see something on the ground happening. It's great.
If there any further discussion? If not, I'm councillor Hughes, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'm going to put this motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to declare, sorry.
Just, Mayor, I'm just wondering at which point we need to move an extension of the time.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, councillor Solomon. Thank
No,
you for
I just
reminding
don't-
me about
I
that.
just don't want anything to lapse.
Yes, because so from 10:30 to 11 o'clock, are you happy to move that way?
Yes, I am.
Do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Kosh. We have a seconder. So the motion is to move, to extend our time from 10:30 till 11. We've got a mover and we've got a seconder in councillor Kosh, that the meeting be extended to 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, it is carried. Thank you. So now we move to 10:11. No, 10:10. Sorry, I missed one. Sorry, Tim Kelly. I didn't mark up my. I marked it up in a different way and it's not working. So anyway, I'll have to go back to the old way. Anyway, so 10:10, which is on page 64 of 133. And thank you, Tim Kelly, for this very detailed report. You happy to move that way? Somebody happy to move? You happy to move that way, councillor Davies? Do you wish to speak at all? No. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes, seconded. So we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to put this motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So now we move to 10:11, and I need to declare a material conflict of interest, which when you do declare a material conflict, you have to leave the room. You don't have a choice. So I'm going to, the reason is because I may well be going to the conference, and if costs are paid, I need to be out of the discussion. So somebody needs to take the chair, and I'm going to leave that up to you guys to work out. I'm not going to make any choices. You need to, who wants to take the chair? David? All right. I'll get out.
No. I don't think I get to vote because I'm chairing. Yeah, it's only on committees. Okay, the mayor's out of the room now. We've got a motion here. Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you. I'm very happy to move this motion. I think from past experience as a member of the community, I have seen there has been great value for us going and being represented at the federal level. And I think we can point to a number of projects that have come back directly back with funding to assist this community.
Thanks, councillor. Does someone like to second it or any discussion? Councillor White.
Yes, no, happy to second this and agree with councillor Hennessy's comments. I think that a part of the town of Gawler's mission and values is about being represented at all levels, and this conference in the past, from what I've read, has been very, very successful for our town. We've brought back a lot of knowledge and also actually had our voices heard at a federal level, which I think is quite good for the town of Gawler and also our community. So yes, happy to support this and second the motion.
Thanks, councillors. Any speakers for or against the motion? If not, councillor Hennessy, do you want me to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors.
So now we come to information reports, and we have a series of them. Where are they? There they are. Red Banks Road, Gawler Civic Centre Cafe, next steps. Gawler Civic Centre October to December quarter update, Business Innovation Hub and grants update. We can move them on block if we wish to. Are you happy to move them on block? Thank you, councillor Vallelonga. I have a mover that we move them on block. You can ask any question about any item during that process. Are you happy to second, councillor Hughes? So I have a mover and a seconder that we move them on block, councillor Vallelonga and councillor Hughes. I'm going to so open it up for discussion. We have some questions from councillor Koch.
The first question is on the Gawler Civic Centre Cafe next steps. We've got some information here from Miss Louise Drummond, and she said as the chair of the Gawler Business Development Group. I'd just like to know whether that's an item that the board's actually endorsed.
I think it was. My understanding was that Louise was there on the basis that, well, I made that assumption and I invited her to come in. Are you able to articulate further, councillor Solomon?
Yeah, if I can assist. I believe that Louise was there in a
Individual?
personal capacity.
Right.
Just because from what I could tell, we would have been a previous meeting that I wasn't in attendance at, but it was an understanding of a couple of the other board members that hadn't been something which was endorsed, the commercial kitchen idea. It was an individual thing that she'd brought.
Well, I still think it was valuable, and I think it really assisted us to open up our ideas. So yes, did you have a further? Yes.
Yeah. For a commercial kitchen to be a reality, we have to do a business plan. I'd just like to, maybe through you, maybe to Mr. Barrett, what businesses that have been spoken to that said they will actually use that facility? Because there must be a demand, otherwise you wouldn't do a business plan. I just want to know who are the businesses?
Yeah. I might ask Mr. Barrett to just say what the next steps might be, and maybe some general comments around about. I know that the specific question was around businesses, but I'll leave that for Mr. Barrett to ask, to answer.
If I could roll in another question, an omnibus question.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other one is, will there be an audit of existing facilities that are commercial that can be used by those people, those businesses that have actually expressed a request for commercial space?
Thank you very much, councillor Koch. So I'll hand over to Mr. Barrett, who might be able to articulate an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, part of that business case and model behind the concept for a commercial kitchen would consider that demand. We don't know at this point in time because we haven't actually gone out to ask the question. So that is part of that next steps to formulate that full business case. Also part of that business case for model delivery, as Councillor Cosh has alluded to, for a sustainable business plan, we need to ensure of what the other market is around the area. So that would include investigations as to what other commercial kitchens would be available in Gawler for the same activity.
I think that is a really great answer. So thank you for asking those questions. Any other discussion on any of the items in these information reports? So I can see Councillor Davies got his hand up.
Yeah, just regarding the Civic Centre update, just some congratulations for some great events and all of that. I think it's really been picking up recently. The youth space, the library. I was talking recently to Georgie, who's involved with the Zonta Club, and she was starting a program at the library for girls aged 7 to 11 to get them involved in technological, things, creating video games, etc. And apparently first day that's already filled out and they've got a waiting list. So it's great to hear that all this stuff is doing so well.
I'm going to pick up on that because I think that's an excellent point. And what I saw at the movie premiere of the youth movie was the youth space working in collaboration with the library. And we've got all these collaboration and partnerships now happening in this centre. And it's just really benefiting our community. And like you said, Councillor Davies, you've got people wanting to come in. We've got the tertiary hub about to be launched. All of these things are really exciting for our growing community. And I just think it's really inclusive as well, because there's different young people that want to make more movies and they're coming up with new ideas, and it's all driven by them, and they're collaborating with different portfolios. And I just think it's fantastic. Yeah. So really, really lovely point that you've made. Yes. Any other discussion? I'll go to Councillor White and then back to Councillor Cosh.
Thanks.
Oh, Councillor Hennessy, did you have your hand up? I beg your pardon.
Thanks, Mayor. Just two quick items. First of all, it was great to see, just wanted to thank the staff for all their work, particularly in the realm of grants, how many grant staff are looking at, keeping an eye on. I think that's really important for us and for our community to look at what we can do with money that we can source elsewhere. Just a quick question about the Red Banks Road pedestrian safety crossing.
Yes.
I'd like to congratulate all staff for working with the relevant authorities, particularly the state government, because this issue's been around for a while, and I think the community, particularly the Xavier College community, will really, really benefit from this. I just have a quick question. So the infrastructure, like the crossing and the footpaths, will they be DIT owned or council owned?
The pedestrian crossing will be DIT owned and the footpaths will be council owned. Is that correct? Yeah. I got it right. Awesome. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and just to double check, that's all being funded through the state government. Is that correct? Fantastic. Thank you.
Councillor Cosh, you had your hand up? I beg your pardon? Oh, Councillor Hennessy, I beg your pardon, Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm, support what Councillor White said about the grants. I think we're doing really well. And I just wanted to point out that, of course, it's not just going and making the grant applications. As I understand, most of the grants these days require regular reporting back. And whereas what that might have been once annual, I understand that in some cases there are many reporting back processes. So it's a job that you can that we can perhaps overlook, but it certainly takes a lot of effort to manage the type of money that the funding coming in. And secondly, I wanted to add to what was said about the Civic Centre, and I just thought I'm probably stealing one of the staff members' good news there, but I am very much aware that yesterday we've had interest from an academic who wants to be involved in the Heritage Centre and some research there. So the aim of making that a high level research area is starting to eventuate as well. So again, partnerships, collaboration, building a good reputation 3 years in, and now we have the academic world in South Australia very much involved and wanting to be part of it. So nothing but good news.
I think they're all fantastic comments around these information reports, and it just shows that the information reports is a really transparent thing to do for our community. People can read and see what we're up to, but they can also hear the comments from elected members as well about some other aspects of, you know, what's happening in these centres. So thank you, everyone. Yes, councillor Kosh, sorry.
Just got another question. It's in the grant section and about the Northern Vikings and the barriers, the new barriers.
Ah, yes.
So I went down and had a look today, and the wooden ones, yep, get rid of them. I'm just wondering though, is there an ongoing assessment of the wear and tear of that floor? Because council spent a lot of money upgrading that floor, and I'm sure that the roller skates do, you know, put a lot of wear and tear. I just want to make sure that we're keeping a check on that.
I might hand over to David Barrett, just a brief answer, please.
Yeah, so through the
David.
chair, the answer is yes, we do assessments on the wear and tear. Roller skating is part of the centre activities and the floor was designed to cope with that. The only impacts we've had recently have been line marking, which was actually an inferior product that was used, so it was replaced under warranty. But in terms of wear and tear of the floor, we're all okay with that.
Thank you. So I'm going to wrap this up, and councillor Vallelonga, are you happy for me to put the motion? Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now that concludes information reports, and now we're on to item 12, which is recommendations from committees. So I'm going to work through them step by step. So I'm on page 117 of 133, and I'm at the top of the page. And so we're starting with the Gawler Heritage Collection Committee, held on the 19th of January, and we've got motions made under delegated authority, which is just one, 12.11. We just need to move. Yes, thank you, councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. 12.1.2 is a recommendation that it authorise councils to conduct the expression of interest process to identify suitable candidates for independent community representation on the Gawler Heritage Committee as outlined in this report. Moved by councillor Hennessy, seconded by councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Conservation of leather frame. It's really quite a beautiful frame. Recommendation that we proceed with that. Moved by councillor Hennessy, seconded by councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And over the page, recommendation, we're noting the work plan completion update, etc. And annual budget and business plan process. Happy to move councillor Kosh, seconded by councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we move to Gawler Heritage Collection Committee on the 9th of February, and we've got motions made under Delegated Authority 12.2. Got a couple there. I'm just noting, moved by councillor Hennessy, seconded by councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please. All those against. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Request for permission to copy oral history recording. Esther Hart. Moved by councillor Hennessy, seconded by councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I'm over the page now, and we're moving to Gawler Youth Advisory. And we've got appoints Jade Hancock as position of chair and Abby Dale as deputy chair. And that's noting the adopted motions. You happy to move that way, councillor Hughes, seconded by councillor White. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Appointment of members, and we've got a few members that are interested, which is really fantastic. Moved by councillor Davies and seconded by councillor White. Do you wish to speak? Okay, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, we'll just say we've had so a couple of the people who have reapplied. We have a new member, Lucy Stamachi, who I think will be a valuable asset, has already been involved through things like the Gawler Youth Band.
That's great.
And yeah, and when we've had resignations, Hannah her family moved states, unfortunately, and Brenna, and then Mr. Isaac Solomon, who I hope will come back. at
Being
some-
acknowledged.
He's being acknowledged. And yes, and I know Nathan's watching, so I'll say that they made the point to add that extra point, thanking Nathan for his time on the committee as well, so.
Thank you. So councillor White, you wish to make a comment?
Very quickly, Mayor, I just thought I'd point out that we had a young person, Hannah Lucas, who was part of the Gawler community for a number of years. Both her parents are in the Defence Force, and yeah, she has now moved states. But during, I think, 5 or 6 years she was in the Gawler community, she was one of the most active young people, I think, involved in all aspects of council activities, as well as sporting clubs, from footy to swimming, to everything in between. I think, she really showed how the advantage of having great facilities, great activities for young people, even someone who his family is consistently on the move. So I think, I think that Hannah was a great example of that. And I know she'll be very much missed by the youth community in Gawler, but I guess we'll wish her all the best. But just thought it was a bit of a good news story that all this work that goes into youth programs actually does make a huge difference in young people's lives. So I'd like to thank everyone for their work.
Thank you very much. So we've got a mover in a second. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So we now adopt that the Youth Development Officer update report be noted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Davies, thank you. And I think I saw Councillor Sambles seconded. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So now we move to Youth Sponsorship Program. There's quite a few. You happy to move that way, Councillor Davies? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. And we're moving over to audit and risk. So we've actually done the second budget review. That's been done earlier in the night, hasn't it, Henry? Yes, so we don't need to do 6.3, Chris, but we do need to do 6.1. Do need to do 6.1, that appoint Ms. Christine Hahn as Deputy Chairperson. And that's noting. Happy to move that way, Councillor Hennessy, seconded by Councillor Koch. We're moving 6.1, 6.8, and 7.1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but not 6.3, because we've already done that. That was earlier in the night. So we just take that out. All good, Chris? Thank you. So I'll ask for a mover and a seconder again. I didn't, Councillor Hennessy, and I think it was Councillor Koch. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. And it's 12.4.1, update to audit and risk committee terms of reference. And we just changed the code of conduct to behavioural standards, which is the legal definition now. You happy to move that way, Councillor Koch? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Moving over to policy review, 12.4.2. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes, Councillor Hennessy seconded. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Review of external audit plan. Adopts the recommendation. Happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy, thank you very much. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Carried unanimously. We've got a Treasury Management Review. All of these is core business for the Audit Committee. Councillor Hughes is moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Solomon, thank you very much. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we move to the IES, Infrastructure and Environmental Services Committee, I beg your pardon. And we have notes the adopted motion And we've got 7.1, 7.7, 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3, which is the adopted motion. So looking for a note. Thank you, Councillor Solomon, seconded by Councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. All those against? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We're over the page, 12.5.5, Hillier. Sorry? You voted against. Oh, beg your pardon. Voted against. I saw you put your hand up for, but you voted against. That's fine. It's carried. Chris? Sorry? You've called a division? Okay. Councillor Solomon has called a division. All those in favour, please stand, please, so I can call your names out. All those in favour, please stand. Okay, so we have Councillor Lorna, Councillor Kosh, Councillor White, Councillor Davies, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Solomon, Councillor Hennessy. All those against are Councillor Vallelonga and Councillor Samble. Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you. So over the page, we have Hillier Residential Park, and we have, this was discussed at length at the IS committee. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Moved. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Solomon. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Gawler Town Centre car parking strategy 5.6. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Moved. Seconded by Councillor Hennessy. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Multi-jet car parking project 12.5.7. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lorna, thank you very much. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Smart bin technology 12.5.8. Councillor Kosh moved, seconded by Councillor Samble. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. I'm going over the page. We've got policy review 12.5.1. Various policies. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kosh. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. External bodies reports. We have minutes from the Gawler District Health Advisory Council. I always find them really interesting. Reconciliation Action Plan, I also find them really interesting. It's really good to have them in. So happy to move. Councillor Hennessy, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hughes. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. I'm over the page. I don't have any questions on notice. Questions without notice? Councillor Samble.
Yes, Mayor Karen, if I refer back to the car club,
Yes.
if the car club takes on the proposition, which I believe is fantastic, with the other groups, the Black Ops and the and the Apex Club, then if that is the case, then it's outside of this council's hands because it's a state government land.
Yes.
So in other words,
Yes.
it's outside of our hands. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Samble. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to move to Councillor Hughes. You have a motion. Would you like to present it, please?
Yes, I'll be pretty brief. There have been a lot in the community that are concerned that there's nowhere to put their soft plastics now that the supermarkets no longer take soft plastic recycling. We have previously had successfully trialled where we were given yellow bags that we then put our soft plastics in, and I think it was once a month that was collected, and that was a great service. But yeah, I think, Joe, the first step is to write to Norma, see what response we do get back. Hopefully it's a good one. If it's not, then Joe, there may need to be further motions, but yeah, happy to move this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Samble has seconded. Do you wish to speak, Brian? Thank you. Any discussion on this? Councillor Kosh, you've got your hand up.
Probably about 5 years ago, Gawler was actually involved in a soft plastics trial. I think it could have been probably the second trial in Australia of actually collecting soft plastics into a bag, squash it down, and you put it into the yellow bin, and it was taken out at Norma and it was processed off to certain businesses. We were at a point where we were actually going to have a 1,000, well, actually, I think it was a 1,000 house trial, and we're going to trial it in Gawler East because you've got a good distribution of demographics in Gawler East. And they said if it worked there, it would work anywhere. We got to, then all of a sudden it was abandoned, which was unfortunate because the red cycle program started. And we lost that opportunity to actually have that really good trial here in Gawler and lead the way, lead Australia in soft plastics recycling. So I would like to see this, you know, build on that history that we've got in Gawler, this history of looking at innovative programs, and especially when it comes to this with soft plastics. People are used to now putting their soft plastics and recycling them. And if we can get some way of continuing that, I think that'd be very good for our community, because our community really did embrace that original trial that we had. And it was just a shame with the timing that we didn't get to the bigger 1,000 house trial up in Gawler East. But anyway, let's push it forward and see how we go.
Thank you very much. Councillor Solomon.
Just quickly want to add to that and then say that, you know, very supportive of this motion. I think we need to find ways to ensure that people can do the right thing when they want to. And I think there's definitely a lot of people are really starting to care about the way that they're managing the recycling. And as you know, as we reduce plastic waste generally on items, soft plastic is becoming a big part of the mix. So just full support behind this, taking that to Norma.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Hughes, you happy for me to put the motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Now, Councillor Davies, you've got a, okay, you wish to make us, there we go.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I am going to declare a general conflict of interest. I actually own a property in Blanche Street, but I'd be one of a number of people that own property in Blanche, Short and Edith Street. This is actually talking about Edith Street in particular, but I thought I'd err on the side of caution. I'm going to remain in the room and I'm going to vote in the best interest of the whole community.
What's your conflict?
General.
General? Okay,
General.
and how are you going to,
I'm
how are you going to manage that?
going to remain in the room and vote in the best interests of the community.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Davies.
Yeah, so on behalf of the mover, I'd like to defer this.
So we're going to defer it, and I'm looking for a seconder to deferral. Happy to defer, seconded by Councillor Lorna. So a deferral, I'm going to put that motion, yes, you may. We're deferring the matter. Yeah, okay. That's okay? Yep, okay. So I'm going to put that motion that we defer this matter. Now, deferral to a future council meeting? To a future council meeting? You can do that without even looking. Yes.
It's just that the rat running situation that everybody talks about is happening more and more. We have got it on Metalworker Drive. People are complaining to me all the time because they're coming off a Chick Avenue and going back onto Calvin. How much more money are we going to spend on this? Because there's no talk of the police in any way watching that road. We've spent $65,000 already.
I know.
I'm sorry, that's too much money to waste, Vic. It's better than vending machines.
Well, thank you for those comments, Councillor Sample. We are deferring this to a future council meeting. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Notice, right, so that deals with are there any motions without notice? Good, no. So council member attendances. I've been really busy. I went to a mayor's mandatory 2-day session which actually was quite useful. And I, in fact, learned quite a lot. And I met many new mayors across the state. There were 50 mayors there. And are you leaving? Thank you, Councillor Vallelonga. Yes, and it really was I didn't think I'd learn a lot, but I actually learned quite a lot. And I learned a lot from other people and just networking with other people, but also some of the presentations, which was really very, very good. We've also been to lots of fringe events. I went to the film festival, the Women's Film Festival Friday night, went to a comedy show the previous Sunday night, launched the art festival or art exhibition, which you can see just behind you in the Institute and downstairs, and also in the admin centre. And I also spoke at the youth premiere of Barry Normal Investigates, which is just a great little movie, and they're hopefully going to do some more. There's lots going on. I also met Tom Reddit, and he's done that installation just outside the door here. It's absolutely stunning. And it really is exciting how many different shows and different opportunities we have to engage with Fringe over this month, and there's more to come. I'm doing a triple B with Crafty on I think next Thursday. Yeah, it's just fabulous this time of year, and I think our staff need to be congratulated for the work that they're putting in and the type of events that we get to see. It's just absolutely stunning. So I also went to a community engagement for Reid, and that was very well run by Wendy Young. Thank you very much, Wendy. And I think that people were really excited about getting to have a say about their new playground. So I think it was really, really fantastic. So yeah, it's lots of things happening. Any other events that people wish to declare and talk about?
Yes, I mean, I won't go through all the fringe events I've been to, but I just wanted to comment on the BMX had a state series event last Sunday. Sorry, I went along. Fantastic racing, and the club really is well organised. It just ran so smoothly. All the supporters, everyone there was supportive of every cyclist, and also the camaraderie between the actual cyclists, as in the race. When they finish, they high five, they congratulate each other. It's just a really great atmosphere, and they're doing a fantastic job. So well done, BMX Baller.
Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. No, it's been a while since I had the opportunity to talk, so I did want to mention, it was a few months ago now, but the Gawler Apex Christmas Carols at Pioneer Park was a very successful event.
You emceed it.
Yeah, yes, I had the honour of emceeing it, and I guess to see the thousands of people that attended, which we haven't seen for a number of years now, it was really great. And I think if you were there, it was a very successful night, and the Gawler Apex Club have done an amazing job to put it together. Not only the carols, but also the Australia Day breakfast at Apex Park was a well-run event back at Apex Park as well. And to have many members of the community there acknowledging our new citizens as well as award recipients was very, very special. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the Gawler Fringe opening event, which was, absolutely fantastic. It was totally well run. The performers were fantastic, and just the atmosphere and I guess the general vibe at Walker Place was just really, really great, and had a real community feel.
And I think it's really important to say that all of those events you mentioned has been supported by council with financial contributions, and I think it's important to acknowledge the role of staff in those events as well. But thank you, Councillor White, for those words. Yeah, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to mention I did also attend the Fringe opening, which was fantastic. That was a brilliant event. And then I also attended the art exhibition opening, which the Mayor mentioned as well, here in the Civic Centre. That is fantastic. There's some fantastic pieces on display. And some of you may have seen them in the chamber what was the chamber last meeting, but there's some additional pieces which are on display now, which are really quite exceptional from some local artists and some great photography downstairs. I also did attend to, I think, 3 other things. So I attended the Reed Playground thing, which was fantastic with Wendy there. Wendy did a fantastic job with that one. And then also attended a forum, an Arts on the Plains forum, looking at a potential adding something to Sala that was hosted by Tony Piccolo, and there was also a Southern Rural Areas Forum, which was also hosted, which I attended to, you know, go and hear some of the views of the people who attended that, and that was quite a considerable attendance at that one, a very, very big forum, with the biggest event I've been to so far.
Thank you very much. I think we'll just note those verbal updates, Chris. Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat, but mine was very similar. And I've also, the community groups meetings that I've attended, the Christmas parade, the art network and whatever. It's a great way as an elected member to be very much there to listen to the community. And I think the community very much appreciates that. And all of them have been well run. So I think it helps us to be out there in the community. I concur with the comments about the Reed consultation. That was brilliant. The community course took the opportunity to get a couple of us and show us the Paternoster situation, which was Paternoster Road situation. So that was useful as well.
Thank you very much. So we'll note all of those elected member updates, and we'll move now on to confidential reports, and we have a recommendation to go into confidence to discuss the council assessment panel appointment, and we have a recommendation under 90, section 90, subsection 2 and section 90, subsection 3A of the Local Government Act 1999, unreasonable disclosure of information concerning the personal affairs of any person. Are you happy to move that way, Councillor Hennessy? Do I have a seconder? Councillor White. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. So if we can, thank you everyone who might be watching. We're going to turn off the live stream just for a moment while we discuss this in camera. Thank you.